Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Your Ass Hurts News Network, where we're going to go over a whole bunch of different things. But I'm pretty excited. Out of the blue, I came across a piece of information that made a massive conversation I had with the purported to be artificially intelligent machine called Grok 3. And so I will dive into some of that. Also, I want to make a point that currently, Truth and Transparency, I should probably get her link. Truth and Transparency has discovered some information that ties who I think to be the food delivery guy's Elantra to one of the cars the FBI considered a suspect vehicle. Pretty interesting stream she's got, and I'm not a whoremonger out here looking for any money. But she does do a lot of digging, puts in a lot of work, and she does earn some money. So can't begrudge somebody that puts in the time and the work. So if you're interested in some deep dive into the cars in the Idaho 4, Truth and Transparency, let me see if I can't get her link and put it in here. She's out there cranking on it. Let me see here. It's live, and of course it's live at the same time I'm live. However, in all fairness, she does do a fairly decent job. Sometimes I think she gets lost in her own description of stuff, but in all fairness, I do that myself. So I'm not, in other words, I'm not tossing a complaint her way. But I believe this link will get you to Truth and Transparency if you guys want to catch some of her live when it comes to the identity of the car being connected to the driver, either that dropped them off or the driver that delivered food. But the FBI was sure that green, it's a green Elantra. We all saw that green Elantra on the day of the demolition. We all saw the front of the green Elantra where the license plate was bent underneath it. So that lime green Elantra, apparently that is a wrap coating on it, or there was a color change. She's chased down all kinds of stuff about the VIN, the plate number, the owners, the fact that it was considered a salvage vehicle because it was totaled, pictures of the accidents where it was filed as totaled, and this person's purchase of it is quite interesting to the depths that she's gone connected to that lime green or mint green 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Hey there, Heather. So, as I said, if you're interested in hearing about the Elantra and the other suspect connected to it that the FBI was interested in, that apparently he was cleared. But I think the real key takeaway from what she's sharing is that that's the image that they're claiming on Ridge Road is Brian Koberger. Okay? So the car that the FBI was interested in that was green supposedly came from the image on Ridge Road, which was 0.3 miles away from the crime scene. Now, again, my understanding is that person was cleared from any involvement. However, the fact that he had a lime green Hyundai Elantra on infrared cameras that picked it up as white would not surprise me at all. They were able to figure out that was the green car from what Lana is trying to explain. So that's the short of her stream. And, I hope I'm accurate because I didn't watch the last stream in full, nor I'm not watching her stream at the moment because I'm in here with 23 of you to talk about a couple of different things. Idaho 4. So if that isn't, the key is that isn't Brian's car. And so what that does is it takes the police, you know what that does, Heather, come on. If any one of those images that they purport to show, and they continue to always have called it similar, and this is what I don't really understand, I guess, is just how fucking insidious our law enforcement agencies are. Some of them, let me be clear, some of them, right? If the FBI identified the car on Ridge Road as a mint green Elantra that had nothing to do with the crime, who the fuck is in Idaho taking that same image and claiming that vehicle indicates Brian Koberger's location near the home? I mean, how the fuck dare they do that? I mean, didn't the FBI That's correct. I mean, didn't the FBI tell the fucking Idaho jerks, hey, dude, that car's mint green and we've cleared the suspect. We've cleared that vehicle because it belongs to this guy. Well, I mean, how the hell can the FBI stand back and allow somebody to be put in jail like this for 2.5 years based on images of a vehicle, a similar vehicle to the one that he happens to own? I'm sorry that they keep preaching all of these coincidences. Clue, tell Cletus if he'd like to come on up in here. I haven't had my co-host in so long, or you can come up in here. Yeah, I guarantee the vehicle shows that many different cars. Well, like Brian must have had the green spray paint that he covered the car with after he did the murders. You know what I'm saying? He ditched all the DNA, cleaned his car, cleaned the fucking house, got out of his clothes, grabbed some paint, painted the car, and then drove away. All in 13 minutes or less. Holy shit. It's Mr. Clue. Speed dating with Sarge. The throwback. Well, it is what it is. Anybody can use that link to come on up in here. I do have quite an amazing, on the scientific front, which you guys know, I definitely love science, technology, all kinds of things, ancient, everything. And so I came across an article today that made an announcement that is actually blockbuster because it's a theory that I proposed to Grok before this particular announcement was made today. My theory I devised over years of thinking and talking and discussing and sharing and, getting people's eyes, I'm sure, that are just wandering or looking. But my theory was based on observations that I've made with some understanding of the current scientific views. I can't spell for shit either, which a lot of people interpret or try to make it look like I'm stupid because I can't spell some words. I'm like, whatever, bro. You go ahead and spell. Meanwhile, your mother's probably giving head to some strange man. Anyway, which I had to share that comment with somebody that replied to one of my videos. Who are these Tommy Jude lovers that come into my stream? And on a side note, it's my understanding that Rory has exited true crime. Rory from Thou Shall Not Kill has exited true crime. I guess he made a big snafu or got a little off the handle and was running with these theories as truths, and he's calling himself out and decided to pack it in. I can't really say that the people he associated with, minus Golf Inspector and maybe others, but his association with Tommy and that crowd, how that association didn't infect him, right? Because that kind of stupidity is infectious. That kind of ignorance, that kind of deep-rooted, I'm a cool, easy, laid-back kind of guy that's really a filthy, perverted piece of shit deep down inside, Mr. Tommy Jude, that's got 4 fucking people pissing all over Ethan's dead face on Linda Lane, you sick fucking prick. And anybody that supports that guy or comes in here and mentions anything he's ever said will be fucking blocked. But, the end result of this conversation is that now Rory has abandoned true crime. And I wonder, folks, because, I am an egotistical, arrogant motherfucker, and ain't nobody can deny that, okay? I prove it all the fucking time. I fucking prove to you that that's the kind of fucked up guy I am. And I'm not going to be fucking shamed or shy to point that out about myself. I know. There's very little you could say to me that doesn't apply. You're a fucking dick. You're an asshole. It doesn't bother me because there are realities that I'm fucking conscious of. That's why people can call me names. It just doesn't cause me any grief whatsoever. Right? That's like telling a dog you bark. Of course I bark. I'm a fucking dog, right? Dogs don't take any offense to that. Nor to somebody like me that's conscious of who they are. Nonetheless, I wonder if Rory would still be in true crime if he kept his association to actually one of the co-hosts that I think his audience enjoyed. That would be me. And he avoided these lunatics. I wonder if things would be different for him right now. We'll never know. We'll never know. But I find it ironic that he avoided me when he came back and he hung out with the minus golf inspector. I love that girl. Her and I used to talk all the time. May God rest her soul. But all the other fucking lunatics with Tommy and that fucking crowd. And now Rory is facing the fucking facts, and he decided that the information he'd been sharing just was egregiously wrong, and he's stopping his channel. Maybe Tommy should take a fucking honesty fucking exam in the mirror, and Bubbly Waters and all these other fucking lunatics out here. So, if it's not documented in part of the court case, it's probably not worth talking about. That's my personal view, because facts matter. And look at the fucking screen. Maybe I do believe facts matter. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Where's my buddy Carl? No Carl in here tonight? Is he over on Truth and Transparencies? Who's over there? I wonder if a lot of my audience is over there. I'm sure if people get a chance to let Truth and Lena, Lini, whatever she wants to go by. Let her know that I'm handing her name out for the particular show she's having tonight, which is an opposing show to my particular opposing, in that it's being featured during the same time my stream is. But again, I think she's got some cool points of reference, cool points of view, and I think what she's pointing out is just another fucking tragedy and a carrying of misjustice in the prosecution of Brian Koberger, to which I am not saying makes him innocent, nor am I saying it makes him guilty. I'm just saying when you pay attention to the process and you limit your focus to the process, to the raw data they're given, that again, that to me is the course of action as a citizen of the United States, where we have the freedom to do such things, and the necessity to keep our government in hand, right? Regardless of what state, county, or town or municipality that may be, that it's our job. I don't know what makes Ohio any better than New York. We got some of the biggest brains in the world up here. I know one that happens to be named Bruno. If you want smart, look for a guy named Bruno. If you find Bruno in New York, then you're going to be with a very, very, very smart person. So, on to the Idaho 4 for a little bit here, because I know people jump in here, they want to hear old Sarge rant about Idaho 4. And so I'll give you some of that fun. Let me see what we got over here. Bruno Pelican, old Sergeant Friday, has got a stream going over here on I'll open chat. And I hope my buddy Frank, if you're around, Frank, Mr. Elefante, if you're around, science has just discovered negative light. Frank, something I've been talking about now for weeks. All of a sudden, there's an announcement. Negative light has been discovered, Frank. Negative light, which I've been referring to based on my theories on existing science. I've been calling space, the darkness of space, another form of light. Now we know there is an opposite form of what we consider light. I'll get into that later. But if Frank is in there, he would be in there early. So I figured I'd toss that out there. He's one of the people that I can get my crazy thoughts and ideas. Yeah, Frank, like Frank. His name is Frank. Like Frank screams. No, Frank. Not Frank's hearing. Frank. I won't give his last name. I call him Frank Elefante. And if you want, and this is just public for everybody to see, if you have TikTok or you have Facebook, look up the walking elephant. and you could see the his lovely daughter and the elephant that's part of this stream that she does, and short clips. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, we're talking about two different Franks, and Frank Elefante. I use that as a. It's not truly. It's not his name, but he's owned an elephant all his life, pretty much. So, like I don't know why he didn't change his last name to Elefante. I think that'd have been perfect because he owns a fucking elephant. Excuse me, who are you? My name is Frank Elefante. That's your elephant? Yes, sir. See, that would be awesome. It would be humorous. It would be catchy. And he is in show business. His family's in show business. And yeah, so take a look at the walking elephant. I think you guys, especially some of you women, you'll find it quite interesting. It's kind of nice. You could buy a little jewelry. You could buy elephant footprints that could be framed and hung on the wall. Imagine how different that is. I'm being totally fucking real, man. Listen, Sarge is a master of many things. He's also a researcher of many things. And I used to research politics, and I could research like Lana's doing true crime. Lana's not doing anything I'm not unaccustomed to doing. I've got a terabyte of political research, a terabyte of documents. So I know what Kohlberger's talking about when they're telling they gave him 64 terabytes of information. I get it. Okay, I get it. Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. But no, I think, like I said, pointing out Lana has got a good, interesting perspective. She's given up information that appears to be clear and concise. And if accurate, as it appears to be clearly accurate, I mean, it's hard to shoot down what she's showing, then the FBI knows that the vehicle on Ridge Road that the police are referring, the Idaho prosecution is referring to a similar vehicle placing Kohlberger in, implying that that's Kohlberger, placing him 0.3 miles from the crime. That's stunning. That's stunning. That means, and I agree with her, all vehicles that they're showing, every single vehicle that they're showing in this rendition of vehicles, first of all, there's no way you can connect them to Brian other than by similarity, right? And second of all, I do agree that not one of them is Brian Kohlberger, and possibly not one of them is a duplicate video of the same car. In other words, if they have 7 clips of 7 cars, it's 7 separate clips with 7 individual cars in it. It's not 7 clips of the same car. It may not even be 7 clips of some of the same cars. It's most likely, based on these fucking retarded police, to be 7 clips of 7 similar vehicles, all of which had nothing to do with the crime. And or if they did have anything to do with the crime, clearly Brian wasn't driving it because Brian wasn't there. I wonder how Steve Gonzalez is going to deal with stuff like that. I find it humorous. I can't even find it sad anymore that this poor guy's been either hoodwinked or he's willingly diving into this case to promote the prosecution's point of view, and it's just sad. It's just crazy, that entire case. It's nonsensical. Their story only makes sense if you first buy that the DNA belongs to Brian. And now, because the word DNA is mentioned, you accept that he did the crime. But I've counted 10 samples of DNA. There was another news streamer that came on today. I don't know who he is, but clearly he likes to suck Tommy's ass because he's going to have a show with Tommy on it. I forget his name. Birdie, maybe? Another fucking moron that's mentioned in locations of DNA that I've never heard before. So I don't know who this fucking person is, but he's a Tommy Jude fucking fan. If you were a Tommy Jude fan, you need to get the fuck out of my stream. We don't go down that fucking path, right? It's just ignorance. Good evening, Sergeant. What's up there? And I don't know what the hell to say your name is. So here's the other thing too, folks. You know it. I'm constantly posting a link for anybody that wants to come up on this fucking stream to show their face and have a conversation of any kind. Idaho 4, space being dark light, anything like that, folks. I can't wait to get into that short little discussion. I don't know if you could tell, I'm extremely happy with what I found out today when it comes to my diving into scientific theorization on different things in the observable universe, different concepts and ideas that have been pushed or talked about or been even proven and established. Uh, yeah, I'm not here to specifically talk about people, but I did want to make that point. I think Birdie is going to try to take the place of Rory. I think Rory had 10 or 12,000 members over there, or subscribers at least. And yeah, so what else was I going to say? Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think some of this stuff has been part of my stream for a long time there, Love Tina. And let's see here. We have 75 viewers across 3 different locations. Nothing that I would call blockbuster. But I'm going to touch on this scientific thing here. So the interesting thing was, and I talked about this on a particular stream, I've postulated that as science has told us space is an empty vacuum, and we look out into the blackness of space, certain things are happening in space, and I'm not going to get really too deep into. I didn't hear Trump's big announcement, in all fairness, so I'm behind the times on that because I've been dealing with the Koberger, and I have been also really paying attention to some of the scientific discovery that came out today. What's his big announcement? Feel free to share if you don't mind. But back to what I was saying. I've wrestled with the concept of gravity. Now people realize that it's the theory of gravity. I agree, B-Real. But the facts that they've given you as they interpreted them, okay? Okay, good. I don't know what that's going to be. So I know that he's been saying that that's going to happen, but that may be, I don't know. You know, we'll see what he comes out and says. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So a couple of obvious things that I've come across as I was looking into different things in science was that what people may not realize is that the area between the Earth and the moon is black. So let me just explain why there's curiosity to that for me. When you turn on a light bulb, it lights the entire area. Now, the sun is more than 1 million times bigger than the Earth. That's a big motherfucking light bulb. So why is all the space around our solar system black? But every planet in the solar system receives its light. Huh. How come the whole solar system ain't lit up with fucking light? So that's the kind of stupid thinking that I come across, right? And that's what goes through old fucking crazy Sarge's head when he's looking at the different scientific things. And the simple answer is that space is empty and there's no matter to reflect the light. And that then should make you understand that everything that you see under the light is reflecting that light. And so I got into this big discussion with Elon Musk's Grok 3. And my argument and my point of view was that everything in the world is made of light. Everything in the universe is only exists because of light. And Grok and I argued back and forth, with him referring to scientific data, him referring to different theories. And then I threw him a curveball. I says, well, why is it back thousands of years before even science was invented? How is it that you can go back several thousand years and some of the first things that you're told are let there be light, and there was? How could these people make that connection with no scientific understanding of the universe? And all of these centuries later, okay, science has proven that without electromagnetism, none of the other forces in nature could exist. There could be no weak nuclear force. There could be no strong nuclear force. There could be no gravity. There could be no entropy. Nothing would exist. What is electromagnetism? That's a definition, a scientific definition of light. So if light were removed from this universe. The universe as you understand it would empty. It would not exist. None of the trillions of fucking stars out there. Trillions and trillions. None of the trillion pieces of rock, comet, ice, water, nothing could exist without light. And yet argument continued between Grok and I, and Grok standing up for the system that he's only got available to him. And this is why he's not intelligent. Grok would not, under any circumstance, deviate from any of the scientific theories or scientific experiments that want to contradict everything is made of light. Yet, in the same breath, it will tell you that without light, nothing could exist. I mean, this is where I want to point out the lack of intelligence. Okay? If I put oil, eggs, and butter in a bowl, I can't call that shit a fucking cake until I add flour. You just have a mess of nothing in that bowl. Egg, oil, water, maybe butter. And what do you got? You got an unedible fucking mess right there. Nothing. Add flour, and now you can call it a cake or a brownie or a cupcake. That's the argument. I think that's a very simple analysis. If nothing could exist without light, then everything must be made of light. Or in this case, nothing in all of the known universe can exist without light, which brought me back to that exactly. Let there be light, and there was. Now, I'm not a religious man, but I do love looking at the duality, and I do love reminding people that the true pursuit of science is to understand everything and how it became. Therefore, it aligns with religion, inasmuch as religion would love to find the creator. They suggest that you'll meet them after you pass away. But religion and scholars and theologians are all looking for the evidence of God. Indisputable fact. The science of, which is what most of us consider opposite of religion, is in fact religion on steroids. They're trying to put a physicality to a God, or to a what you want to call a particle. And more evidence that that's what science is looking for with trying to denote or demean religion. More proof of that is when they found the Higgs boson. They nicknamed that the God particle. And now later discovered more particles, blah, blah, blah. But you see, somehow I turned that. Sorry. I got feedback from X. I don't know why. It just suddenly the volume turned on. Go live. So anyway, it's that curiosity that's dragged me to look at both science and religion to the extent of trying to understand and put an understanding in my view, or maybe in other people's views, as to how all of this came to be and how is it all possible. And that led me to then, and I bought it. It cost me $420 a year, in all fairness, full disclosure. I pay to use Grok, the AI, even though I know and can prove that it isn't intelligent in any way, shape, or form. Okay? I still bought the subscription to Grok because of what I'm going to share with you tonight. One of the things that really intrigued me is that they say the universe, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Yet they say that we were created from nothing. And then they went on to, and science will go on to explain that space, although there are particles in space, it's essentially an empty vacuum. Okay? Basically, space is nothing. And I could never accept that because space does things that are observable. For example, light, the light coming from your bulb, from the sun, can only travel at roughly 186,000 miles per second. Okay? So I'm going to keep it simple. Yet, when you look up into the sky and you see a star, because light can only travel at a known constant of 186,000 miles per second. When you see a star, you're seeing it from millions of years ago. What you're looking at is light that took millions of years to get here. Another easier example. When you look up at the moon or you look at the sun, how about the sun? A lot of people may not know that the ray of light that you experience as you look into the sky or as it reflects off of your skin, that light took 8-point-something minutes to reach the earth. Sunlight can be timed. The 92 million miles between earth and the sun divided by 186,000 miles a second can be defined as a time. And that time is 8-point-something minutes. And the reason I'm telling you this is that's an important thing to know, that light goes that fast. And this is why I'm going to now jump into why I began the journey of calling space dark light. And that's the discussion that I wanted to bring to Grok. And I said that space has to be dark light, a light that we've yet to understand or discover. Okay? And I said that has to be because it has to be something. And this is why it has to be something, because modern science has proven these few points. One, space can be bent by a large mass. Einstein proved that in his theory of relativity and his other theories. That's number one. Space can be bent. How can nothing be bent is my thought. Number two, okay? The time that it takes and the limit of light itself, the speed limit of the light itself has to be fucking regulated by something. Everything has something. A car can only go so fast because of the friction between it and the surface it's driving on. An airplane, the friction in the air. There's all kinds of mediums, a boat, a submarine. There's limits to everything that we can make and observe. And so therefore it would make sense that there's a reason light only travels 186,000 miles an hour in known space. And so that was another point that I made to this artificial intelligence. And provable by the fact that it takes 8 minutes for that sun ray to hit you from the sun. Not to mention the tens of thousands of years it takes to go from the center of the sun to the surface to actually come off the surface to fly across 8 minutes and hit you. Okay, so here's another thing. Here's another point. Known observations show galaxies are moving away faster than the speed of light. Einstein and all scientists agree that we cannot exceed the speed of light because it would take more energy than all the combined mass of every single particle in the known universe, including planets, suns, black holes, every single thing to even get close to the speed of light. So no object of mass can move even close to the speed of light because the energy required is beyond all concept or capability of humanity and always will be. However, there's galaxies moving away from us faster than the speed of light. And the only reason they're able to do that is space is moving away faster than the speed of light. See, all of these pieces of information always come together to ask that simple question. Then what is space made out of? All right. So those 3 points are scientifically verifiably provable points. I've added some of my concepts into that. Okay. However, the speed of light is unquestionably true. The time it takes to go from one place to another can be calculated. Okay. Space can be bent, provable by Einstein. And space can exceed the speed of light, provable by modern observation. Well, what is space then? And so my conclusion was space was a form of light that I call dark light, a form of light that we're not looking for, that we're resting on our laurels, we're being lazy, or we're being kept confined to a view that we've decided is all that it ever could be. Science has got tunnel vision, just like I see some investigators in the true crime. So today I come across an article, and this article is referring to, Let me bring it up here. "14 hours ago. This was announced 14 hours ago. I can show you my chat from Grok that was April 26th. I don't, just so you know, if I told you guys I would never look at a website called Eco News, like environmental news, okay? If I tell you that there's the last thing in my fucking mind I would go look for would be a website called Eco News, I think you guys can, I think you could take me at face value, right? Today it's been announced, folks. It's been announced. It's darker than dark. Negative light spotted for the first time in human history. Suddenly, folks, suddenly, out of nowhere, completely unconnected to me. I'm not taking any credit here. But this is what excites me, is that, one, people were looking for a different kind of light. Now, I might be completely wrong, and that space has got nothing to do with light. Its blackness is unique to itself, and it's got some other properties yet to have been discovered. However, the fact that I considered space a form of light that I call dark light now has science coming forward telling us that there's light. It's darker than darkness. Negative light spotted for the first time in human history is a mind-blowing fucking announcement that was just made today. When was this released? May 7th. In Technology, written by a guy called Edwin O. And I put a link down below. Now, I am just kind of flabbergasted that, you know, I'm not a college educated person. I'm not up on physics. I'm not up on what's that other kind of math? No, calculus. I'm not up on any of that stuff. What I really have always been good at is the power of observation and the interpretation of that into the simple stupid. So I've always had the skill to take the very complex and understand it, and then break it down into simple terms that a common person could understand. And so that's kind of how I approach the view of these scientific discoveries, these scientific theories, when it comes to quantum computing, when it comes to what they consider AI. And you should just trust me without ever looking back. It is not intelligent, nor is it artificial. Its only real recognition to it being artificial is that we did create the plastics and we used the gold and we put the machine together. And so it's not a naturally born creation, but that's in the only sense that these artificial intelligences, as they're called, the only real part of their name that can be held true through definition is that the materials are artificially made and assembled by people. They're not an original organic anything, okay? So that's the only part of the name that you could really argue is accurate, that it's artificial. Okay. All right. It's like an artificial sweetener, but intelligent? No. It's the furthest thing from intelligent that humanity could ever put on the internet. As a matter of fact, being on the internet is an interesting place, obviously the only place you can put it, and give people the concept and give it the false name, okay? That people then buy into, and they think artificial intelligence is this, and it can do this, and it can do that. And all artificial intelligence is capable of doing is the same thing a hammer is capable of doing, a job, a task. And its task is limited to the available information on the internet. And I'll be very clear with you. Grok did not in any way, shape, or form agree with my view of space as being dark light, as I named it. Didn't agree with it at all. Today, however, when I went in there and I asked it, let me see here. Here it is. Here's what I asked it. I'll tell you. Now, this thing goes on for pages, so there's no way I'm going to read the whole finding that it provided to me. But this is what I said. I said, negative light was just discovered. See if it fits into the past chat So what I did is I opened up my history to that past chat. And that's what I asked Grok to do. Negative light was just discovered. See if it fits into this past chat. The past chat was solely focused on space being made of dark light that we've yet to understand or discover. And it replies, Bruno, you tossed a cosmic curveball with this one. And I'm thrilled to dive into how the recent discovery, okay? Then it goes into telling you about my frustrations with science. And it brings up that my observations of dark space, dark light, dark, black holes, creation, entropy, and all the other things that I've pointed out here. And my argument that darkness was something, that the darkness of space could not be empty or void. It couldn't be nothing. In order for it to be dark, a simple, even a child would probably make or agree with, would be the simple fact that it's observably dark tells you something's there. I mean, how can you observe nothing? So that was one of the main things. And the fact that space does all these other things, it bends, it moves faster than the speed of light. Particles, another fact, paired particles can communicate instantly no matter the distance. Well, that's got to do with space itself too. It has to. They're both existing in space. We exist in space. How can a particle that's been paired be on the other side of the universe and communicate instantly with this particle? Something's got to allow that connection. It can't be magic, right? So that's another reason why I said space was just another form of light. Just because of the scientific data, all these other people get credit. They're smart. They understand things, put things together, measured things. I didn't do any of that work. Einstein, brilliant. However, part of my focus too has been to try to understand everything. And to me, the only way to understand everything isn't just by colliding particles in some multi-billion-dollar lab. It's also by sitting down and being objectively and giving objective thought to things that may not make perfect sense, but fit in the circle of sense that they've already proven. You see? So when I point to paired particles communicating instantly, and that's what quantum computing is going to be based on, I am not making that up. When I point to light having a speed limit, I'm not making that up. When I'm telling you that space can be bent and that bent space will curve light, I'm not making it up. When I'm telling you galaxies are moving away faster than the speed of light, I'm not making it up. I'm just trying to understand how all that connects. What are all of those clues telling us? When science is telling us that space is a void, an empty vacuum, it's telling us the exact opposite of that definition of space. Therefore, space must be something. Is anybody following this reasoning? I'd like for people to put in the chat room 1, yes, or 2, no. Are you guys following what I'm putting down? I guess that's the question, because I don't want to talk way too deeply or above people's heads and make this a boring stream. Is this stuff making sense? Because I'm trying to make it as simple, and I think I'm doing that. Okay, so I give Tina gets it. Edith gets it. Karen, Edith, thanks. Anyone else get it? Or is this just like a number 2? I should just say, okay, you guys love this. Okay, excellent. Because I don't find many people. I've got a few friends, a few close friends, Frank being one of them, that I can share these thoughts with them, these observations. And my observations connected to what we know to be true on the work of others long before I was ever born. People like Einstein and others. So back to this. So when I told Rock to go back and revisit that conversation, it kind of threw him for a loop. He said, negative light spotted for the first time in human history, described as darker than darkness. No specific scientific details, blah, 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 blah. Possible interpretation, optical phenomenon. Negative light can refer to light with negative intensity or phase inversion, as in a destructive interference, quantum effect, and quantum optics. Negative light may involve negative energy, exotic state, negative frequency, goes on and on and on and on. And it warns that so far there's no verifiable source for that particular data, but taking the data at its face, taking that data was put forward in a scientific mag, and the fact that it, of course, it connects to my theorizing of space. And it asks this, step 2, does negative light fit our past chat? It says, let's assess if negative light aligns with your concept of space as dark light. Space is dark light. Your proposal, a tangible medium reacting predictably to enable gravity, lensing, cosmic structure, not a void or abstract fabric, resolving science's unsupportable tale. Potential alignment. It could be a facet of your dark medium, contributing to space's curvature, gravity, lensing, or expansion. The darker than darkness description suggests a state beyond 0 to 100, so a negative frequency. Negative light may manifest in a quantum vacuum. Observable effects. Your critique that space observability requires light of light. Your critique that space's observability requires a light medium fits. Negative light could enhance lensing or cosmic structuring, appearing dark yet tangible, not a void as you've argued. Challenging the fit. Science's fabric, void contradiction, curved space-time versus empty void could be resolved if negative light is providing a medium for curvature without needing a sparse void, supporting your unified light vision of science's fragmented tale. Speculative link. And then fit assessment. I'll jump right to that. This is the opinion of all the known available scientific information that this computer can get its hands on. It's fit assessment of my argument that space is dark light. Assessment, strong potential fit. Negative light could be part of your dark light medium, enabling gravity, lensing, cosmic structure, aligning with your view of space as tangible, not a void. The darker than darkness claim resonates with your darkness as something, though we need experimental details to confirm. Darkness is something. Negative light fits. Fit assessment, excellent fit. Negative light's darker than darkness property aligns with your darkness as something. I'm going to pause right there. See, I am just enamored, folks. I mean, it's like I felt like I did when I was young and I got a birthday present. When I read that article today, and I also want to give accolades to all these programmers. Let me just say that it's these conversations that I have with Grok that actually made the connection between me and the interest of darkness. And that interest showed up on my Google homepage today. That's why I know. And this is something now I want to get a little more deeper in, is that as much as we don't want to be tracked, as much as we want our data to be private, and I'm one of the most biggest outlandish people that agree with that, in a world of fair and honest, the capacity for the machines to connect data that I'm interested in with me is amazing. It's absolutely fucking amazing. The fact that now you can now communicate with a machine that has access to and can perform all the math required for any of these theories and can do it in real time for you is fucking astounding. That just some simple folks like you and I, they may have grandiose ideas or thoughts that you really can't share. Like mine are very technical. I don't know how it would do with religious or spiritual stuff. But I stick to the technical where there can be factual verification of my observations and or factual discounting of my observations, because the dark light understanding that I started to form and discuss only came to me after Grok showed me 3 or 4 different times what I was considering space to be couldn't be. So it doesn't just agree with you, but based on our own scientific knowledge that it has access to, some of the theorizing that I proposed to Grok was shot down. And it definitely pissed me off, right? Because, I want to understand. And I wasn't pissed off for long, obviously, because I went back at it. And came to where I came to today. I really have it out for Grok. Well, it does not have the capacity to theorize, as far as I can tell. It's trapped in the available data that it can retrieve. And so today I was like, yep, look at that. I swear to you, I was I was relaxing for the night. And I had no interest. I was going to stream, but then I said, nah, I'm not going to stream. I didn't even want to stream today or tonight. Literally. I just got another 30 pack of Oreos. So I was going to have some Oreo cookies and watch some TV. Literally. I buy them in bulk. The 6-pack of Oreos you can buy on the shelf in the store. Well, I buy the 30 pack that those come in. I'm not fucking around with 1 pack at a time. This way, over the next month or two, I can have Oreo cookies when I want them. Anyway, that was the plan for my evening. And as I sat down in the living room, where I also have a computer terminal, I've got computer terminals, quite a few. Anyway, when I sat down in the terminal and I opened up the homepage, that was the number one article, and not the number one, but the first article that I witnessed. First was about the 2026 Corvette and its redesigned interior. Being that I owned a 2021, I was interested in that. I looked. It's nice, very nice. Same car, new interior, very nice. And then when I clicked back to home, this article came up. The article on negative light. And that's why I jumped back up. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. And I said, fuck it. I'm going to make a stream. I'll discuss the Idaho 4 case, but I also want to get this, and I wanted to engage with Grok. And I wanted Grok now to wrestle with my concept of dark light under the new knowledge being put out there by science is that there's negative light. And so for Grok, now the way, and he went and looked at that article, just so you know. And everything he says, the fit assessment, excellent fit. Black holes, negative lights fit, excellent. Bright disks, jets, black holes, accretion disks emit. Observable effects, black holes lensing, jets relying on spaces. Fit assessment, very strong fit for negative light. Photon primacy and science circularity. Negative light fit. Fit assessment, moderate to strong fit. So the idea creation versus entropy and darkness. Negative light fit, strong fit. So it was just so shocking to me and so exciting to actually see a science that supports my particular theory. And so that's what prompted me to get back on the internet tonight. When I saw that article, negative light discovered, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I've been arguing with fucking, and let me tell you the importance of understanding how important that is to know. Yeah, I'm a little weird in the way of things. Listen, I'm a normal guy. I'm a car guy. I'm all this, pool, swimming, dating, all of that. I'm a regular guy. You would never know unless you got to know me. You would never know that I had, that kind of a wonky fucking brain inside my skull. But maybe you can make sense of this when you realize that I'm fallible like everybody else, 1,000%. And I get caught up in some of the riffraff and some of the crazy shit with some of these true crimes and politics. I'm a victim to that just as much as anyone else. I get propagandized, and I'm sure I've propagandized in return. But I try very much to stay with facts, what we know. And all we know, we can know through verification of all that there is to verify it, right? I didn't do any structural research, Tina. Love Tina. No, I didn't. No, I basically look at theories and concepts and try to see if there's any room through Grok, by using Grok, in the modern understanding and modern science prove, the modern, what we'll call modern settled science on issues, if my views contradict or work with the modern settled science, like the speed of light is settled. The speed of light will another thing too, it will reflect, it'll travel at a different speed as it goes through objects like water, right? Like the other day, somebody was arguing about the biggest organism on Earth, and they're claiming that it was coral or something like that. And I contradicted them immediately. I said the largest living organism on Earth is water. The largest living organism on Earth is water. I know everybody considers it inert, but nothing could exist without water. Water couldn't exist without light. So what are the two main ingredients to everything we see? Light and water, right? I mean, in our physical form, in what we are and what we're able to observe, I argue that water would be the largest living organism on the planet. It could be both solid by being frozen. It could be a liquid. It could be a gas. I suggest that water is the largest living organism. Coral is a rock that grows, right? Or whatever, organisms that grow, whatever. I don't even know exactly. I never even looked up to see what coral is, to be honest with you. But I think referring to water as a living organism is a fair observation. I often use water in my discussions with Grok to try to argue the speed limit of the speed of light. It has a speed limit, but space doesn't have a speed limit. So what's limiting light to a certain speed? It can only be space. See, all these arguments can't answer this, right? Science doesn't have the answer to this. They've got the scientific math. They've got the scientific observations that have been recorded, right? Einstein's information, all these other scientific discoveries, and the understandings of what we understand have been verifiable and repeatable. So it's clear to me that light travels at a certain speed, yet space isn't limited to that speed. Okay? So what could cause light to travel at that one speed? Not in space, it doesn't slow up or speed up or slow down. It's one speed all the time. And another question. Yeah, fungus is life, but without water, fungus wouldn't exist. You see, I think the largest living organism is water on the planet. From water comes all life, right? And then in the solar system, the largest living organism would be the sun. You can argue the sun doesn't live, but what the sun produces and shoots out into the universe or the solar system is life. Light. Without that light, there would be no water. Without that light, water could not bind to become water. H2O would not exist. The nucleuses of these molecules and these atoms and these electrons orbiting their nucleus couldn't exist without light. Nuclear force, strong, weak, gravity could not exist without light or the electromagnetism in the universe. Here's another question, folks. This is kind of a question that's kind of fucked up, but if space isn't lit like a light bulb lights a room, the sun does not light the entire solar system like a light bulb, right? In between all the planets is black. Whether there's right? The sun's a million times bigger. We're like a grain of sand up against an Empire State Building is the sun. It's kind of crazy, but in that way, right? Here it is. It's kind of fucked up. So since light doesn't radiate through space and light up space, where does all the light go? Like where the fuck did it go? Right? If what science decided to call light is a photon, and the sun is a million times bigger than Earth, and it's producing photons that are just shooting everywhere, well, where the fuck did they go? Why isn't space lit? Where the hell are all the photons? Now, the interesting thing about a photon is that you'll only observe light when it hits an object that can be reflected. So let's just go with this simple understanding that an object of mass, from a grain of sand to a planet and everything in between, reflects light. Light makes itself known only upon it being reflected. Space being black, there's no reflection. But where do the photons go? What happens to the photons is they travel through this, what they've called an empty void of darkness. Where the fuck do they go? Now, light once observed from an object is gone. Those photons are gone. I know we are, Heather. I know we are light. All things are made of light. All things are only possible because of light. Everything. Humanity, your car, your tires, the moon. So the question then drops back down to, if the sun is putting out, a number of photons per millisecond, a number so big I can't even say it, where the fuck do these photons go? We do know that they exist throughout all of space because we can observe distant fucking stars. So we know that fucking photon traveled 4 light years to get here. So they don't go away until they're observed or they're in contact, right, with a mass. So if they've traveled that many million fucking gazillion miles to get here for us to see the night sky and all of them stars, right? How could all of space not be fucking lit up? Where did all the other fucking photons go? And that's the next course of discussion I'm going to have with Grok. They have to be somewhere. And if you're telling me space isn't full of them, then you're full of it. Because that just don't make no goddamn sense. Right? And for those of you that are following along, if every particle of light is a photon and the sun and look at there's I don't know how many billions of fucking suns in our galaxy. Right? Where'd all the fucking photons go? And on the same perspective, same line of reasoning is, well, if space is nothing and photons don't interact with space, then how the motherfucking the space be expanding faster than the fucking speed of light? And why is there a speed of light if space doesn't have the limiting? If space is not the limiting factor to the speed of light, if you're going to make that argument, then you have to explain how space can go faster than light. And nobody's explained that. And those are the kinds of direction I'm going to go with Grok. What the fuck is space? What is it, folks? That areas of the existence that are not of the same causes things to be. I think that this planet, I don't know about that. Look at poor Kane B on the purge. No, Kane, this is a stream. I think it said everything is on the table. Idaho 4, and I may have predicted a science discovery, which I posted the article, and I can actually my Twitter, you can actually go there. I did post this up on my Twitter account. Anybody that wants to come in, you could talk about. We can go right back to Idaho 4. We could talk about any particular topic at all. It doesn't matter. So let's if you guys, I can even put in, if you guys would like, I could bring it into a call-in show. How long have I been on here? An hour. It's 11:30. Yeah, I can go another period of time here. Let me check all programs. The old Firefox. Am I? Let me see here. Hang on, I'll get to you. All right, so what happened here? All right. Brian. Yeah, we do a lot of Brian stuff. Banners. Let's see here. Here you go. There it is. You guys, if you feel like you want to call in, you don't want to jump in on the stream itself, here's the link for the stream. Oh, nope, I better not do that. I better invite, copy, and paste. Yeah. Let me think here. Yeah, all right. There you go. Call that number. It's an adult. Unbelievable. Where'd my number go? It disappeared. Where'd it go? Hang on now. Banners. How did I get the... Oh, I know how. There we go. Comments. There you go. It's a call-in number. People want to call in. 18 and over only on all of my stream productions. We only want, even 21 and over would suit me. But 18 and over is okay. 30 and over would be better. 35 and above would be much better. 35 to 40 for female looking for fun. And, all else, whatever age you are. I don't know. What am I going to say? Don't worry. Yeah, so I was pretty enamored there with the discussion with this Grok, this artificial ignorance or intelligence. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll stick with ignorance. Back to the Idaho 4 briefly, because some people do come in here for that. All this space chatter can sometimes people's eyes will flop back in their head and they'll see the interior of their head and be terrified to see the emptiness of it all. Uh-oh. What did Kane say? Poor Kane. Kane, you just got excluded from some kind of relationship with Heather. I don't know if you were hitting on her or something, but damn. You can't even be an ex, Kane. What the hell is that all about? I'm surprised we don't got a couple of them fucked up Tommy Jude lovers in here. Any of you Twitters in here, these fucking twitly, empty-headed fucking reflection people? Where are you twits? You bubbly water fucking fans. Fucking morons. But, yeah. So, what was I going to say? I'm still so flabbergasted over the Idaho 4. Now, today I learned something important. And for those of you that want facts on this case, okay? They want facts on this case that make an argument that they have potentially the wrong man. I'm going to share with you now an epic moment of observational power that I've levied at this case based on documentation itself that was originally posted on Miss Potts' channel earlier today. And that observation is this, and it's quite fucking frightening if you want the host's personal opinion. Quite fucking frightening. Apparently, Yeah. You go stare at JD Vance, you little freak. I checked out his wife. Damn. Anyway, so here's the fact. This is what I've discovered. This is how unfucking holy this entire case has become. A drunkard, drug addict, fucking twit gets a man put in fucking prison because of his eyebrow. His fucking eyebrow. That's all it took for an unfucking sensible fucking half-ass fucking description. And now, folks, let me just tell you how fucking crazy that is. And not an eyebrows, but an eyebrow. Help fucking put this guy in fucking jail for a trial that's yet to be take place. It's been more than 2.5 years. But here's what's going to acquit the guy from the same unmentionable fucking drunk, drugged fucking moron. Brian Koberger, the identification of him has been destroyed by Dylan Mortensen because he's got a fucking big nose. His big nose was what she couldn't recall or make any sense of. It was the fact that when she literally saw a fucking picture of the guy, okay, on her own, and then later in the presence of a policeman, she thinks she would have recognized that big nose. So apparently, your life can be fucking ruined over a single eyebrow. And yet, for those of you that are self-conscious, for those of you that know you have a big nose, right, and are either self-conscious about it or don't give a fuck, whatever it might be, all of you in between, it appears having a big nose is distinct enough to exclude Brian Koberger from being in the home that night. And I suggest to you, folks, I suggest to you that the entire acquittal of Brian Koberger is going to be based on his fucking his nose. Right? His fucking big nose will eliminate him as the person in that home. Subsequently, previously, it was his eyebrow that put him behind fucking bars. So I don't even know if this is a murder case. It sounds like a case about fucking facial features. That's what it's boiled down to, the idiocy of it. Unfucking believable. It's his big nose that she didn't recognize, and she thinks she should have recognized it. It should have given her that, oh yeah, that's him, when she looked at the picture, and that's not what happened. She said that right to the cop. What up, Joey? Can you fucking imagine that it's going to be Brian Koberger's nose that eliminates him from the person Dylan Mortensen saw that night? And how do I know this? I know Lana and a lot of these other creators are doing all this hard work. I know this because I paid attention to the documents. Specifically the documents that were reviewed today, maybe for many times, on Miss Potts' channel. And that fucking Brian Koberger got a big fucking nose, man. And yeah, that's going to fucking attribute to his acquittal. Watch. The same girl that says eyebrow is saying that nose should have stood out. She should have looked at his picture and said, like, oh, wow. Like, she should have looked and recognized his nose. Remember what she said about the mask? It was a Bakalov, and it covered the forehead and all the way up to under the nose. Do you understand? And so for her to like be like, well, I don't remember a mask with a cross in it. She's referring to a ski mask with the eye holes. That would show the cross, right? She's saying she remembered a mask that was open-faced, covered his mouth and his forehead. And that nose and those eyebrows just didn't fucking light up her life, man, when she viewed him privately, outside the scope of the police. And then her communication to the police was pretty fucking, yeah, I can't tell you if that's him or not. I thought when I saw the picture of the perp, it would jump right out at me, but no, I don't remember that nose. Holy fuck. Headline news, Brian Koberger cleared because of his nose. That's going to be the headline. That's what I should have started this stream as. Brian Koberger, provably not in home. Dylan Mortensen clarifies. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow and that'll be the title of my stream. Which is another irony here. Is that, remember last week I was in here or whenever? I brought up my school principal that we used to say, because he had a big fucking nose. And we used to say the nose knows all. And we're always trying to get away from him. The nose knows all. No, I'm telling you. Go look at Dylan's discussion with the policeman. I'd have remembered a big nose. Yep, folks, share. Breaking news. Brian Kohlberger innocent. Dylan Mortensen does not remember a big nose. Yeah, that's kind of fucked. It's kind of fucked up. It's kind of crazy. But that's exactly the car. Now, if Lana's work is accurate, and I'll give her the benefit of the doubt, not because I want a desired outcome, but because the process under which she's displayed her information makes sense. That's all. Remember the time I told Jeff H. he just exonerated Brian Kohlberger? Yeah, Jeff H., that fucking guy. There's people out here that they just don't want to think. They don't want to. And on the other hand, I'm sure in many people's eyes, somebody like me that looks up to the fucking sky and sees all that darkness, right? And then wants to engage. I'm sure in your eyes, I'm a bit wackadoodle or nuts. Maybe even you think I'm stupid. What the fuck do you? It's dark. What more do you need to know? I'm sure there's a lot of people that would view it that way. But, you're the same idiots that listen to CNN and Fox News. So there is that. But yeah, thinking is an interesting concept. Not that many people practice it, but for those of you that are on here, where did my fucking webpage go? Bunch of weak-kneed. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not inviting enough. So if you want to call in and share some Oreo cookies with me, we can discuss life and maybe the problems you have with your wife or husband, or maybe the complaint you might have against your neighbor's tree that overhangs your yard, whatever it might be, these important things in life that matter, right? So feel free, call in 585-454-9932. And you can discuss with a very compassionate, understanding and compelling Sergeant Friday. Because I'm sure any topic like that is absolutely something I would engage in. I'm not sure you are going to enjoy it, but nobody said calling me would be a fucking joy, right? You may find calling me to be the worst fucking thing you ever did. It may ruin what little bit of the day you have left, which is about 11 minutes. Right? So, take a fucking chance. Dive into the well. Swim around in this murky water. Call in and baffle the host, trick the host, insult the host. Bring whatever you got. A game, B game, Z game, no game, whatever you got. Bring it in. Man, woman, and adults, young adults, not children. Nobody under the age of 18. So, yeah, bring it all in. Hold, please. Oh, wow. Yo. Hello.
Hey, Sarge, how you doing?
Excellent. Who's this?
This is Delby.
Delby. Have we ever talked?
You're not going to hang up on me again, are you?
I don't know. When did I hang up on you? What did you?
Day goes on there.
What were you the drywall guy?
Yeah.
The fucking drywall guy.
For a zinger.
What the fuck is that all about, bro? I saw.
Well, because I was getting mad, so I threw that in there just to stir it up.
You hear that, folks? I angered one of my callers, and he threw out some chaos, so I kicked him out of the call. That's what they call action equals and reaction, right?
Yeah, conservation of energy or something.
Well, yeah, equal and opposite forces opposed. So, what is it? What is on your mind?
Oh, I don't. You were talking about Lana with the ring car.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were on. I just happened to see it. So.
Did you?
Yeah, I think that's pretty looks legitimate to me. What do you think?
Well, her argument is that the FBI considered that as a suspect vehicle until they investigated it. So that being an argument she's making, and I don't know if you saw the previous video how she tracked that vehicle's life.
Yeah, I did.
Right. So it's not a question as to who owns it. But the question comes down to, is the Ridge Road now, is that Ridge Road image that car? And she's arguing that it is. And if that's the case, then the images that they're arguing place Brian Koberger around the home are wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that, like I hear my last part. I think the only thing he needs to go to court with is that big fucking nose of his, and shit'll settle itself out, because Dylan should have recognized, she thought the person she viewed in the picture should jump out at him, but she don't remember no nose. So set the guy free on his nose. You put him in jail for his eyebrow. You know what I'm saying? Let's, if all things being equal, if we want any kind of like spiritual fucking level of fairness, that to me, you trade an eyebrow for a nose and send them home.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I think she has a good argument that that's the car. I mean, I'm not much on these distorted pictures. I think they shouldn't be.
No, I'm not either. I'm not either. But the idea is that the depth that she went into was beyond just the photos, and where she got the information that vehicle was investigated by the FBI, that they considered that a vehicle of interest and then excluded it because the guy had an alibi. Hang on. We have someone here to add to the stage.
Okay.
Kane B. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the caller, though. Can you? Say something, caller.
Caller. This is the caller speaking. Can you hear me, Kane?
Kane.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear the caller?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I had you on YouTube still. Hold on. Wait.
He's
got I can hear the caller also as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you hear him, caller?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Kane, yeah.
Wow, this is working better than it's ever worked before. With my co-host, it didn't work.
Who's on the phone?
Hello?
Announce yourself there, caller.
This is Delby Rush, Kane.
Oh, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I've seen you in some chats, and I've watched some of your videos too.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, I remember you in the chat. He was saying you were the drywall guy, and I was like, damn, I got a couple of walls that need closed up, so I thought I'd get a deal through Sarge.
I need to interrupt you guys real quick. Someone asked in the chat room, what's the scientific discovery? And Damon Dog, it's negative light, which has been something I've been pursuing for some time here with trying to explain the darkness of space as being dark light, a type of light that mankind has yet to understand or prove. And now today somebody just came forward and they're calling, they found what they call negative light, which would be consistent with the observations I was making as far as space being made of dark light. So yeah, that was the, not a discovery, but something that supported what I've been doing theoretically on some of my observations when it comes to different shit that surrounds us. Anyway, what yeah,
antimatter, matter and antimatter, light and anti-light.
Yeah, I think it's something a little bit more like the other. I don't know if people know this, but recently they've actually produced light in a solid form. It's a super solid. I don't know if you guys are aware of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And even science will tell you without electromagnetism, nothing could exist. Nothing. And light is electromagnetism in its obvious greatest form. So without light, nothing could exist at all, anywhere. Nuclear force, strong, weak nuclear force, gravity, planets, nothing could exist. Nothing would have cohesion. No, nothing. So light is the key to everything. And once I understood that, that's when I started to look at space as a form of light that we don't understand and may not even have the tools to test. But it does so many weird things to light. As space bends, light follows the curve. Space travels faster than the speed of light. And so how could space be empty? Wouldn't that make space the limiting factor to the light speed? Would make sense. So those kinds of thoughts are what I've been researching. And yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow, you didn't
learn researching stuff related to
say it again, Heather. To what is it? Say that again.
From me.
To the case? Yeah. No, and Idaho 4 is being covered, but I got all excited when I see science has actually come out with an experiment that I had nothing to do with it. I mean, they didn't do that because of my observations, but it's interesting to have observations, and shortly thereafter, science shows the validity to them. And
They're actually confirming some of the things that you were.
right, and there's nowhere else you would go. Yeah, my argument, my points of view, my observations weren't being made anywhere in the internet that I could find, and that's why I engaged Grok 3 over at X. And then yeah, kind of cool. So what's going on there, Kane? What do you got for us?
I like where you're going with that. I wonder. You said they made a solid out of light, huh?
Yes, it's called a super solid.
So imagine when they make a liquid out of light, how the beer will be.
It actually acts like a liquid.
I see. So it's like a plasma.
No. Plasma is a fourth form of matter. So
right.
Plasma, it's not plasma. It's they call I have to look it up again, but they've solidified light, and it's not solid like a bar of steel. More solid like in a liquid form.
So yeah, like I said, imagine the light beer going forward on that.
Light beer?
That one slid down the wall. Never mind. I'm doing good.
Yeah, you could drink a can of light. I'll sell it to you, folks. I got production in the garage right now with third world workers. Come on. $2.99 a can.
It'll take you across the universe.
Instantly. I mean, so quick and back so fast you won't even know you left. And if you drink a lot of them, holy fuck. I've already got the concept figured out in my head. I'm going to have a pull tab that actually clicks a fucking LED light in the bottom of the can. And as you drink from the can, the light will get dimmer.
Zero hangover, though. Zero hangover.
No hangovers.
You just get charged up.
You'd be full of fucking light when you're done.
Oh. Yeah, I wonder if they'll have that on tap at your local brewery.
Yeah. Light
beer.
Got
a vat of light brewing.
Yeah. There's a light beer. Never get a ticket again.
Oh, you know what'll happen, though? They'll get a light leak, and then it'll be a real problem.
Can you imagine wiping that up? Who's going to
clean
clean up a light leak?
Over here, please.
Well, isn't it weird, though, that a light bulb lights a room, but the sun doesn't light space? How the fuck does that happen?
I'm trying to figure out how light doesn't expand as it travels. So, say I shot.
No, it does. It does. It's not called.
Okay, yeah, because
dispersal.
If I take a little like a doctor's pen light out of their pocket, and it's a dark room, and it's already dispersed by the time it hits the next wall. Right. So, what does happen to it in space, and then so the universe is supposedly expanding one way, and the light's traveling the other. You would have some point of zero movement at some point, right? It wouldn't be traveling in a certain direction.
Space expands faster than light. So
you'd have a negative.
So what ends up happening is because it expands faster than the speed of light, you can't observe.
Listen, you want to talk about some weird shit? We were doing a live the other day on my show, and I've had a couple oddity things happen, but this was the wildest. I had a time glitch, and it's on the video somewhere. Heather was watching, and somehow the video skipped, and it showed me saying what I was about to say. It said what I was saying what I was about to say. In other words, it said what I said before I said it. And It happened live. Yeah, it was, dude, I'm telling you, everybody saw it, and we were just like, it was one of those things, I guess.
Oh, it was an echo. Look at that. Heather jumped right on it. It was an echo, she said.
Well, the echo was talking before me, though.
Well, they also brought up in the chat room something in relation to blindness, like I was trying to make them blind or something, and I said, no, but that young guys are warned about blindness between the ages of 11 and 13, right?
And also heavy shedding on the hands.
Yeah, don't do that. You go blind.
What was that movie? Employee of the Month. Did you ever see that?
I don't know.
It was Dane Cook
Oh,
and
yeah.
the
Didn't he
guy
pass away?
from Stifler from American Pie, and they're
Didn't he
competing for
die,
a
that
job.
guy, Dane Cook?
No, he didn't die.
All right, so that's all right.
He was dating a young girl, but don't they all?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't date women. I'm 60 years old. You wouldn't know it by looking at me. I should probably put my screen up and my cam on one day.
Yeah, I think when I look at my backroom stats, you know, it's mostly between 35 and 65 on my shows.
Yeah.
With a heavy emphasis between 45 and 55, which is my age. I'm 56, so
Yep.
yeah, I guess it fits the bill. But that seems to be, and it's 75% female. You know,
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of females out here. They don't got the
And-
back fence to gossip over. Usually, that's to me what drove them all to the internet.
Or did you make it as a boomer or are you the next gen?
Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to any of that. I'm just some whack fucking doodle. Egomaniac, narcissist.
you know what we were
I'm all
talking
those
about, Sarge. You remember the 70s? If you do, you weren't there, but I know if you remember the magazine. I was a kid, and you know you got a couple years on me, but I remember reading through, like, you know, you're sitting in the doctor's office or your mom's friend's house reading through the magazines, and there was always ads for these diet pills.
Yeah.
And it was such a a huge thing, that it was just sold right. I mean, it was almost, I don't know if it was over the counter or you just had to have a prescription.
Yeah.
And you know,
Over the counter.
I think things changed a lot when they outlawed that, when they banned that.
No, they didn't outlaw that. They just gave it the correct name. See, they may have outlawed the ad. They a lot of people don't know what a weight loss pill is. You know
right,
what
the
it
weight
is?
loss pills. You sure. No, the weight loss clinics.
No. Pills to lose weight. Do you know what those are?
Yeah,
They exist. No, absolutely not. They're called water pills. My stepmother told me that when I was a little kid. So they're water pills. 15. A lot of people, do you even know what fat is made of? A lot of people don't know. But it's made of water and carbon dioxide. And to understand that, what two things take place when you're burning fat? You sweat and you breathe hard, right? And what are you doing when you're breathing hard? You're expelling carbon dioxide. What are you doing when you sweat? You're expelling water. And so the water pills, you could lose up to 15% of your weight just by taking water pills. That's never changed. It's always been that way, because up to 15% of your body weight, especially additional body weight, is water. And you get on you can buy them. I've got them in the cabinet. I take a different form of a water pill, but the same thing. When I went from 187 to where I am now at 157, that journey started with taking water pills. And then I changed my diet over a period of time, and I don't eat the amount of carbs I used to eat. I ate a lot of meats, which I always did anyway, but I'd go through a loaf of bread every 3 days. I'm Italian. We love our bread.
I got some good bread right now, and I just started doing the carnivore. And
there you go. But I'm telling you, take water pills. That'll get you started. It'll get you into that mood. You'll lose a pound a fucking day as it gets rolling. And so I don't know how many pounds you're trying to lose, but I'm 5'10" and about 160 pounds, 150 to 160 pounds is a perfect weight for me, the way how I physically come across. And my whole life that I was under 150 pounds. I'm a wiry guy, always have been. So I wanted to get back down close to where I'd been, because 187 pounds, I looked like I drank a fucking 12-pack every night. I had a fucking massive gut, man. I mean, like, I look at weight as a 5-pound bag of sugar, and I got rid of 6 of them motherfuckers.
It's good.
And it started with water pills, literally, because you're trying to get rid of the carbon dioxide in the water, which turns into that gelatinous fucking mess that's inside of you.
Right.
You want to expel that. So exercise, that's why exercise helps burn fat, because you're sweating and you're breathing.
So what is it called? A water pill? It's just called. You go to the Walgreens. They got a water pill.
Counter. Yeah, let me see here. They water pill. water pills. They don't advertise like that's what they were selling years ago. Caffeine free, Durex, maximum water caplets, caffeine free, $8, and you get I don't know 24, but shop around. I got a pharmacy I go to. I can't remember.
It doesn't dehydrate you though?
Sure, yeah, it helps helps your kidneys put extra salt and water into your urine. That's how diuretics clear extra fluid and bring down your blood pressure. Diuretics also help when you have too much fluid collected because of heart failure. But it's also exactly what the whole purpose of those pills years ago when they were in those comic book magazines, just so you guys know, that's the only reason I brought up water pills is because that's what they were selling. And they were making it look like a diet pill and they were told to stop. Because there can be a danger to it. You don't want to take too many of them fucking things. You could experience heart failure. But used properly by directions, yeah, that'll affect a fat person for sure. Someone trying to lose weight, positively. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of food, we're planning on doing an Idaho 4 food show. We talk about food a lot on the show, and we're gonna talk about like the chicken carbonara. I don't know if JJ has a Jack in the Box near him. See what was ordered on that pizza, those types of things, just for fun, And a lot of the things that they're talking about today. What do you think?
With what, the Idaho 4 or food?
Well, with Idaho 4, yeah.
I'm really pretty convinced they're not going to really have an easy time convicting them. I don't think they can convict them on what they have. It's too convoluted, and you got to make too many leaps. There's no. You can't even say that car was involved in the crime. You're making a guess because of a fucking clock and some drunk girl's testimony about 4 a.m. So I think it's an uphill battle to prosecute him. And I think there were many reasons along the way that this case and a lot of the motions filed should have ended this case, but the justice system isn't fair. The jury is the best hope the kid's got. And I honestly hope that they put him on the stand. The only person that can humanize Brian is Brian.
Have you seen this? I always say that we looked at this case forward, backwards, and upside down, right? And now this guy Birdie came over from TikTok, and he played this guy's video. And this guy snuck in at the administration building there at the University of Idaho and got into the steam tunnels.
Right.
And he said he lived in some apartments and he had a key fob to be able to just go pop up into those apartments. I think he thought that he was going to be able to pop up under 1122, but he got lost. He just I think I'm on 6th Street and it's like all carbon monoxide down there. I'm like, man, you really went the extra mile.
When they tore that house down, there was no tunnels under that house. See, I mean, you got to take and see what your eyes are showing you. There wasn't anybody doctoring the video. They showed us. We even saw the green Elantra on that tear down of the house. That lime green Elantra that Lana's talking about. That you could see me and Clue and Cletus. It looked like it had no front plate, but you could literally see the plate was bent underneath the front fascia. So we didn't know what state the plate was, but you knew there was a license plate bent under so that the car appeared to have no front license plate. It was lime green. And it drove past the construction site coming from the apartments, the 500 or the apartments next to it where they claimed the Elantra parked. That's the parking lot it was exiting. So, and it does belong to a driver or to a meal delivery person. It is connected in as much as location, and it's most likely connected specifically to some of the sightings and times they're trying to attribute to Brian Colbert, because that lime green and an infrared camera would show white. You see?
Another
won't distinctively show you a blue, a gray, a green, a red. It won't show you. It'll just show black and white.
Right. That's what I was going to say is that my neighbor has a light blue Kia. And in the daytime, it looks, light blue when you're up close, but even from a distance, it looks silver. But at night, it looks white or silver.
Right.
No question. I can never tell it's him. I rode my bike right by his car last night, and I didn't even recognize him because I thought it was a different color car. So yeah, the FBI is not going to stand behind him
And that's kind of what disturbs me. The FBI's conclusions are not apparently what the Idaho police conclusion is.
No, they
right.
They had identified a 2011 to 2013, and Moscow PD literally has the car on Ridge Road 4 minutes after the crime is allegedly started. That this is their suspect vehicle one, and so, you know, what were they hearing that wasn't even there, supposedly? And then I think they're going to have a tough time as far as explaining why they don't think that blood on a rail, blood on a glove, blood, you know, all the, and apparently there was blood underneath the latent footprint. Is that right?
Not that I've heard. There's no confirmation of
That's
that.
what I read today.
Where?
Is in the document here.
Yeah, isn't it funny that there's blood in front of her? There's a footprint in front of her door. Let me also clarify something for people. She claimed he wore boots, and literally there's evidence cards out the backyard by the tree of a work boot imprint that they were taking pictures of. And they put an evidence card, those yellow numbered triangles next to the boot print.
Sure.
So there literally is a work boot print out back, making the Vans print by her door not made by whoever she claims was in that home. If it's one person, as they argue, then you have to explain the deep impression footprint out back that is a work boot, like a Timberline tread, not a Vans boot. So there's another fucking problem for these guys. That footprint, and then the blood they say going from the second floor to the first floor is another problem for Dylan. The footprint and the blood going downstairs? Come on now.
There's no explanation for her actions other than you know, who, like we were talking about last time, like who was she putting in her phone there at what time was it? 4 a.m., 3 a.m.
And she's
adding new content.
She called a driver. See, this is what I mean. I like, if people have been in the stream the whole time, you'll see how I've connected a blackness of space to something that now science is saying is something. It's not to show that I'm smarter. It's that I try to put together things and try to find arguments two or for and against. And when you look at what Dylan has said, you cannot make an argument for what she's saying. She's doing everything a complete liar does. And some of these lies contain truths. So I'll give you an example. I do not accept that them 4 girls were upstairs talking to go out for food, because 2 of them had already eaten all they were going to eat. And that was Kaylee and Maddie. So I don't think that the 4 girls, Bethany, Dylan, and those 2 victims, were in the same room that night. But I think 4 girls were in that room, or 4 people were in that room. How about the other statement where she says she heard Bethany come down the stairs, go up the stairs, and come down the stairs again? Well, that can't be true, because she was found deceased in the upstairs bedroom. Where's the returned up the stairs statement? Down, up, down? Well, what the fuck? So where did she end up? So there's so many things that Dylan, that we now hear and we're seeing in print, that don't make fucking sense unless you're lying about something.
Well, they've been lying. The entire PCA is a fantasy. That they're literally basing it all on one eyebrow. That is what their lead to Koberger is one eyebrow. Allegedly, they don't have the knife sheath anymore. That I don't think that was ever a thing.
I don't know about that.
You have the person who handled the knife sheath, the Gooch, Deborah Gooch, who's also the woman who interviewed Dylan Mortensen. And it's starting to look.
Even the eyebrow isn't fair, because the policeman mentioned eyebrow to her first.
Right.
And they knew that she had a room with eyes all over her walls, paintings and pictures. And then how about when she can't identify the picture? I don't remember that should have jumped out at me. I don't remember a big nose. I mean,
well, she she saw him on the news. They didn't even give her a lineup. She saw him on the news and said, "Yeah, no, I don't recognize that
she
eyebrow."
looked up his mugshot online.
Right.
And then when she went to the police station, she was shown the picture again. And she couldn't identify him in either of the photos. And she's arguing it should. I really think or thought that should have jumped out at me. And so obviously you did not see Brian Koberger because you're not even, the eyebrows didn't do it for you. And you're noticing he's got a big nose. And you know what she said? The mask didn't shape a cross. So she's talking about the cross meaning a ski mask with 2 eye holes and a mouth hole, or even 2 eye holes and no mouth. You'd have that straight line of fabric coming down the nose over to the mouth. It does form kind of a cross when you think about it. She's saying that wasn't the kind of mask she remembers. She remembers seeing his eyes, his face, except for his mouth and his hair. So in other words, she saw the body of a person's face, which would include the nose and the eyes and the eyebrows and the forehead. And all she could really say for sure is he was white. That woman's on some, I don't know. There's none she says that to me could convict anybody. If her testimony is a convictable testimony, we're fucked. The whole country is going to go to jail.
That's for sure.
And
No question.
What's that?
What was he gonna say?
Yeah, let him. He's been on hold, so go right ahead. Say, not on hold, but
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, I was just agreeing with you, but what I would say is that, when you have the 911 call with Dylan and the text messaging, and then you compare that to her grand jury testimony, and, there are so many contradictions that you can't use any of it. You can't,
they can use it. Here's the thing. Can I just say Hitler to some extent is accurate in why he's allowing it? Because she's not saying that what she saw is Brian Koberger. He says that plainly. He's not she's not being used to identify Brian. You got to understand that, folks. That's not why she's being allowed to testify. She's being allowed to testify to what she experienced. Okay? And what she has stated to the police. That's the only reason she's there. It's not to convict Brian. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding some of this guy's rulings. That you got to read what he's saying and understand some law to realize that her testimony isn't going to be used to solidify her what she witnessed Brian Koberger in that home that night. Not even that. He says that right in there. So keep that in mind, folks. Dylan is not really, I mean, they used her in the probable cause affidavit inappropriately. Frozen, shock face, went in the room and locked the door, went to bed. That's a complete fucking lie. Right? Yeah. It's tragic. The car. There's too many of those cars in that neighborhood. The cameras that you have are just too ineffective for a clear identification. And so the best you could possibly do is drag up a few pictures that show an Elantra, which shouldn't be enough for probable cause. I mean, why aren't there 22,000 people in jail?
The thing is,
they have one good picture of any of those cars.
Yeah, well, the thing with Dylan is she doesn't even know if it was real or not.
It could have been Memorex if you're my age. You know what that means,
right? She's completely inebriated. So whatever testimony they think they're going to use her for is moot because they're going to tear her apart in the cross.
So is the car. You know what else is going to ruin the case? Why I say it's hard to prosecute. If you listen to Steve Gonzalez and take what we already know as fact, there's 10 DNA samples at the fucking crime. 10. Fucking 10. And he wants to inflect all the time that they belong to Brian. He's fucking wrong. Provably wrong. Next, he's making the statement that they got pictures of him. And he refers to Teslas like they got a picture of Brian Koberger. Why wasn't that used in the probable cause affidavit or any of the fucking warrants previous or subsequent to that to support the warrants? Where's the motion to exclude that? Where's the motion to suppress that? Where's the motion to eliminate against that picture? There isn't. Therefore, that picture doesn't exist. So this poor bastard, I don't know what he's got scheming, but that Gonzalez guy, I'm telling you, he really kind of ticks me off. I know the guy lost his daughter, but for fuck's sakes, bro. Everything he's told the public has turned out to be an untruth.
Listen, if you listen to Steve in the beginning of the case, he was right on point. They were hiding stuff, they were lying, and he needs somebody to step up and be an alpha. And then all of a sudden, he's 100%, and he's supposedly seen all the crime scene photos, which I didn't realize that until recently when Echoes of Clarity told me. And I don't know how that's not against the gag order, but somehow he so he has all of a sudden these inside sources, and something that makes you wonder is so you had a major documentary on Paramount. It was a two-parter. It's one of the bigger ones. I think it probably did better than 2020 and all that. You have a lot of Paramount connections in this case now with when you go look at Olivia's husband works for Paramount. You have I was going to look into this more to get the connections all right, but you have connections with the Gooch, the detective, and Meowry also, and then you have all these YouTubers like JLR, Forensic Frenzy, all these people.
How about that?
And then you have
the drunk cockroach,
Blum,
and then the drunk
also.
cockroach, right? And
right.
All the rush to guilt. Everybody's got the guy
all
guilty.
in the same. Whereas before they were looking at the facts of this case, and now all of a sudden they're just blinders are on. Let's get the rodeo rolling, right? And so it's starting to like circle around where there's this Paramount connection that, because somebody pointed out today, I think it was Lana maybe, that you will hear everything but Cyray's testimony in the mainstream media. You'll never hear anything about him saying that everything that they put forward as far as the phone data and the drive tests is lies and bullshit and exonerates him. But they don't even mention it once on News Nation. So any credibility that lady ever gained is long gone. Long gone.
But that's because all of these people, see, I don't know most of these people support the fucking propaganda of the media. So when they tell you Trump bad, and then they tell you whatever lie, you just accept it because you believe in information. People that are willing to believe in information, like I have faith in my law enforcement, but I know from experience that these people fuck up. I know from experience they get tunnel vision. I know that there's cases. There's been people in jail for decades because, to the exclusion of all other evidence, they focused in on one suspect. Can someone tell me honestly that hasn't happened here? At the very least, I know a lot of people want to say the cops are criminal and they did this intentionally, but a lot of people don't understand this, the severity and the amount of times that they focus on one suspect to the exclusion of all else. That happens all the fucking time in law enforcement. And that's, to me, why we're where we're at. Why are the FBI and the fucking Idaho cops appear to be at different opinions on shit? Why were they suggesting he was a stalker and the FBI determined he couldn't have been a stalker? He just wasn't. Right? If that car is lime green, look at if that car that Lana's pointing out is lime green, I can't say that it is. I don't know. But if that's the case, that this man was ruled out and his car was caught on camera, right? And then what the fuck are they using that same image to say that represents Brian? How about the 7 minutes from when he left the college, WSU? There's a 7-minute discrepancy. They take the car that's heading towards fucking Pullman, or not Pullman, but Idaho. That's the car they track. But Brian's phone tracks south, leaving WSU. South. But the time that they place in the PCA is consistent with the other vehicle that was heading towards Moscow. And they use that vehicle from there forward to argue suspect vehicle 1, similar to Brian Koberger's car.
Listen, there has to be 20 traffic light cameras. I'm not saying like red light cameras, but you know how every intersection now has cameras doubled up on each light, to record accidents and stuff. that I think it was Get a Clue went through all the ones that are there just on Google Maps, and you could see all the different cameras and that they didn't investigate that are not included, as far as we know. And so it's they don't have a picture of Brian Koberger in his car driving by the house. Yet Steve G is 100% convinced that that's the situation.
Well, and everything he shared has been wrong. Remember when he came out and said that they have ways of tracking electronic devices that we don't even, you guys can't even imagine what they got. And he connected to the Wi-Fi. Wait till they get into this with the special software from the feds, and they can go through that phone microscopically and plot every place he'd ever been the whole time he owned the phone. And he's convinced. He's told everybody this story. He's told everybody all the stories he said, and he even came out and said, "Yeah, I misrepresented that information." So he's acknowledged that, like when Ann said, there's no connection between Brian Koberger, electronically or otherwise. None between him and the victims at all.
Yeah, that's going to exonerate him. That's what he thought from the very beginning.
Right.
Is that they're just going to have to look at my cell phone data. I wasn't near that house. And he's trying to say, oh, he was following the case and da-da-da-da-da.
And anybody would have. If they're arguing Brian Koberger looked up that case prior to being announced, it's because all of them fucking girls in the parking lot and the two supposed uninvolved survivors were all over the fucking internet that morning. And I'll owe her an apology. Is WSU Kim right that this shit was talked about on the fucking, there's some special kind of a chat system that the college uses. Were people that were part of that chat system, were they aware that there was a fucking problem at that house? And if they could have been aware prior to the official announcement later that day, then why is Brian not allowed to fucking look it up? Is he the only person that looked it up? Because I guarantee there's probably thousands of people looked that shit up before it was announced, right?
Right.
But the only way the only view that they can have is the only view is the backdrop Brian did it. So everything that they mentioned as schooling, well, he only went to there so we could do this. Everything they fucking tell you about this gets framed on the backdrop that he's definitely the killer. Yeah.
They were trying to say, someone was trying to say that because he called out the next day, that was suspicious. And I thought, well, that's not suspicious. He's probably soaking up as much of this case as he can. I mean, why wouldn't he?
He's in that field. And he does digital forensics. That's what he does. He's an IT.
Think about this as far as calling in the next day. The 13th was Sunday. And then Monday was the beginning of the Thanksgiving holiday. So why would he have to call into work? They didn't have any work. The school's shut down.
Maybe not the teachers, though. Maybe not the teachers, but that would be why he would call in. There was really nothing productive he was going to do there. So he was like, fuck it, I'm not going in.
How does Steve G have that record?
Wait, how about on the night of the 13th, the meteor shower? How about the night of the 13th, the meteor shower that could be seen from 4 states, including that area, with big bursts in the fucking sky? Heather showed that.
And he's a member of that club.
Is he?
That tracks that kind of stuff. Yeah.
He's truly a member. There's proof to show that.
Yeah, well, I just saw a video on it. It said.
All right, let's say he ded say something about Skywatch, and that was brought up by Ann, I think, wasn't it?
They even knew how much it was. It's like real cheap. You pay like $25 a year or something, and they track you.
Well, I got fucked. I paid $420 for a Grok. I got robbed. Fucking Elon. No wonder he's a billionaire. Fucking Musk. I want my money back. Your computer's stupid, man. It argued against me tooth and nail against space being dark light. And then today, when I brought my new finding to him, it was on my team completely. So, what's up with your fucking machine there, bro? Here's
another support of your theory there. Space is freezing cold. So the opposite of light, which would be warmth, light would be warmth. The opposite would be cold, right?
Yeah, there you go. The absence of heat. Yeah, so I really I'm pretty psyched. That was like a birthday present when that showed up in my fucking browser today. I was like, oh, yep, there you go. And then Grok went and confirmed it and ran it down.
Or it could also be some element that we don't even understand or have discovered yet.
That's why I was calling it
you
dark
know.
light, and that we don't have the tools and the machinery even looking, because everybody accepts the current definition of space, but you can't accept the current definition of space knowing what you know is provable when it comes to bending it, and light going with the bend, and it expanding, and it going fast. All these fucking things that it does, but it's nothing. I don't know. I'd like to have my fucking bank account with nothing in it do all that shit. Okay. Give me more nothing, brother. Right?
I gotta bend the shit out of mine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Holy fuck. Yeah. I mean, it's we live in an interesting time in the history of I don't think I'd want to live at any other time. If I could go back, I don't think there'd be a more interesting time than now. It's confusing, it's chaotic, it's upside down, it's sideways, it's
No,
the
imagine
availability
living in 18th century France, Claire de Lune, they're throwing the poop right out the window into the street. You imagine, how you got to take a dump out in the middle of the desert if you're a cowboy.
well,
They barely had working plumbing
not only that,
until the 1900s.
when you look at old Victorian living, women always walked on the street side when a man walked down the street, where they're specifically to avoid the fucking urine being fucking thrown out the window and she getting hit by it. That was one of the chivalrous things a man could do. And you guide her down. These streets were covered in horse shit and human feces and urine and fucking, yeah. I mean, we do live in an exceptionally wild fucking time. And to me, the information available to us at your finger fucking tips. And now you don't even need to type. You could talk. It's fucking shocking.
No matter how you look at it, that's a be careful what you wish for thing. Look at the generation it's produced.
Yeah, but that next generation coming up isn't looking at the world that way. They teased out and they sexualized that one generation, but the next one coming up isn't anywhere near that, man. They don't want to hear it.
I think it's 50-50. They're twisted in another way.
Well, look how many of them voted for Trump this time. More youth voted for him than any other Republican, I think. Same with blacks and Hispanics. A lot of people just want common sense. They don't want all the fucking chaos.
Have you heard one apology from the Democrats on anything?
No, you won't. They just
continue on.
Hate. They hate. That's what the KKK. That's what the slave owners. It was hate, and anybody that disagrees with them. I mean, that's what I don't understand how they never look in a mirror. But when you're keying a Tesla, you're keying the fucking vehicle of a guy that sees the world the same way you do. You fucking retard. That guy didn't buy it. They only an oil lover.
They really only see what they're told to see, man. They're so brainwashed.
And it's hate. They hate. They really do. If you don't agree with them, they're superior to you, whether they think that consciously or not, and they hate. The Democratic Party, if it wasn't for hate.
But they can't explain their stance. That's the problem, is they don't have anything to back anything up.
Your questions are irrelevant. You're stupid. They're better than you. This is what I mean. This is what they really view the world through that lens. They know they're viewing it that way. And yet they're going to call you the fascist for questioning them. There's historically, there's a lot of human beings like that. And you would think that they would be weeded out, and hopefully that this guy gets 4 years and the VP gets 8 years, because that 12 years will make a big difference in the consciousness of the country. Just give me fairness. Why am I paying? If I want to sell milk in Canada, I got to pay a 252% fucking tariff on my milk. Then fuck you. We don't want your cars if you won't take our milk, right? Shouldn't it be that way? Fair is fair. So everything this guy is doing is based on just common sense and fairness.
Well, gas prices finally dipped down today. We're seeing a finally result there.
Isn't that what people want in the Idaho for? Fairness?
Do you think that the law enforcement had hoped he would plea out in the beginning? That they just kind of scrambled to put some bullshit together and be like, look, just confess to it and this whole thing goes away. Right. And get him through the system. There can't be anything else. I don't know. There's a lot of cover up going on though.
I want to say this, whether people like me bringing up other streamers or not, you go fuck yourselves. when I had a conversation with Tommy that had nothing to do with being online, and he's arguing that Putin invaded Ukraine, and I argued with facts from his own fucking democratic media outlets that war started in 2014 under the authorization of Barack Hussein Obama, and that we supplied the Ukrainians the fucking howitzers and the fucking shells to start shelling the bordering regions of Russia. They were still shelling Ukrainian territory, but that territory voted to secede from the Ukraine. And if allowed to succeed, as their vote said that they wanted to go, if the Ukrainian government allowed them to succeed, then Russia would have no more argument of the rest of Ukraine joining fucking NATO. But you see, Ukraine was too fucked up and they wanted all of their territory. This is ours. You can't have it. Well, we agreed in 1980 something not to encroach upon the border of Russia with NATO members. We made that agreement and they took the Berlin Wall down. That's why the wall came fucking down. Now, all of a sudden, Obama and other fucking Western drug-connected fucking pedophile motherfuckers running the Western countries decided they want to make Ukraine part of NATO, the whole of Ukraine. And they start sending weapons to Ukraine to fucking bomb their own citizens. That's when Russia said, fuck you, enough is enough. And Russia sent in peacekeeping troops. Russia did not start that war. And the reason why Russia took the Crimea was because the NATO fucking countries, the Western countries, convinced Moravia and other nations on the Black Sea to cancel all of Russia's naval leases on bases the fucking Russians built and let them keep when they separated the fucking Soviet Union into Russia. All those Eastern Bloc, all the infrastructure that Russia built, they let them keep it. And they leased it from them. And so NATO convinced those countries to cancel the leases on the naval base. That'd be akin to Canada telling you and me we can't use Lake Ontario. Oh, are you fucking smoking crack, you little Canuck? Of course we can, and we'll sink your fucking ships. Right? And that's exactly what Putin said. Oh, okay. So I gave all you people those naval bases, and I'm paying you monthly leases on them. And now you're telling me I can't use them? And I gave Ukraine the fucking, the Crimea, the bases in Crimea, and that's Ukraine territory with our, fuck you, we're taking Crimea back. And that's exactly what he did. All of that was prompted by Western powers interfering in the politics of Eastern Europe. We caused this problem. And Putin reacted to it. And the same way we would fucking look at Trump. We want Greenland. Why? Because China is sucking up and putting their military in the presence of massive trade routes between us and Europe. We can't have fucking Greenland side with China. Look at the Panama Canal. Many Americans didn't know that the Chinese were controlling the canal. And Trump kicked them all the fuck out of there. And now the canal is not controlled. You know, our canal, if you shut down that Panama Canal, you fucking bankrupt America. If we can't move our ships from one ocean to another.
There's another thing you hit on real big is that they fought it tooth and nail. The media took the side of China, you know, under the guise of Panama.
Yeah, like they're protecting Panama's sovereignty. Yeah.
And then the truth comes out, you know.
But a lot of Americans don't listen to the truth. Like they'll come in here. There was someone in my chat earlier. And here was the whole point. I was talking about Tommy Jude. I sent him links from the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Huffington Post. All of them confirming this is the chain of events that triggered that war. It's all fucking propaganda. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, motherfucker, ain't no Fox News in there at all. That's all your fucking jerk off news fucking stations. You're still going to tell me I'm lying? Go fuck yourself, I said to him. You're an ignorant, no good motherfucker that shouldn't even be on the fucking internet. But most of all, you should probably be a fucking hermit living in your fucking trailer and leave the rest of the world alone, you hateful fucking prick. And that's the last time I talked to the guy. Until I saw him place that video online arguing there were 4 people urinating on Ethan's face. Sick fucking bad. That's why I don't like Tommy Jude, folks. He's a fucking jerk off. He's not even a propagandist. He's just a fucking jerk off.
Well, did you see that Rory, his partner, retired or whatever from the cage?
Rory took sides. When Rory came back on, he was supposed to call me. Me and Golf Inspector were on that channel too when Rory was first out.
I see.
All the way up until when he left. And when he came back, he was told by me in no unequivocal terms, listen, I got no issue with you, but you're not going to get me on that fucking What's the name of that station? Prime. Paramount? Because they had me a little bit on Paramount. I said, if I'm on Paramount, there's going to be a fucking problem. I'm not giving my consent to be on any fucking public broadcast where you can make fucking money on commercials. They want me on their show. They need to come to me. Otherwise, I don't want you to be the fucking. And he was part of all of that. So when he came back this time, because he left for a year, and he just buddied up with Tommy and the other fucking. And now he came forward. He didn't break up. He closed his show. Because,
Right.
you know, you become those that you associate with. And it's not that they broke apart. Rory literally closed his show. He's got a video out there. He's walked away from true crime completely because he knows he gave fake information to the public. At least he's got a conscience. And that's what him and I used to debate, even with Dago, even with Clue. I don't want to hear about shit that's not verifiably put in these court proceedings. I don't want to hear that. I don't even want to debate that somebody, and I'm just being a smarts, but that someone ran out of the house with a piece of drywall. I don't even want to go there. Okay, I don't want to hear it, man.
At least watch that video again.
That's just
I'm
funny.
kidding.
That's fucking funny, man. Yeah, I'm like, you know, I don't know what the Banfield boys' involvement is, or the frat, or the drug dealers, or the guy that lived behind him or across from. I don't know what any of their involvement is, and there's nothing that's showing me that this court case is dealing now. And will make an interesting turn when she presents third-party culprits. That's going to be awesome. Now, let's speculate away, because now they're really
You're
part
right.
of the proceedings.
That's where you have to question Steve G's stance, is that the police have lied to you because they completely ignored at least 3 other DNAs in the house.
More than
And
that, 7. Look at
yeah,
3
more
under
than
the fingernail.
likely we
3
don't
under
even
the
know the half of
fingernail.
it.
Listen.
Right.
3 under the fingernail, the footprint, the DNA on the rail, the DNA on a glove, right? And then you got blood on a sheath. That's 5. Then you got Brian's 6. Inside the glove. Nobody talks about that. Why didn't they swab the inside of the glove for transfer DNA? That's 7. Now Steve is saying there's 2 other locations. That's 9. And the only one you pay attention to is a microscopic piece of fucking skin, not the blood. Make that make sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
But explain to me how those other DNAs wouldn't be important to the father of a victim. And in going into court, obviously you have that brought up as far as Mowry using a PowerPoint as evidence, which is completely conjecture. It's like, oh, this is what we think. This is what we think. Just believe us. And look at this picture and look at this map. And this is what we think. And the problem is Ann Taylor is going to that courtroom with 3 entities as the opposition. You have the prosecution. You have clearly the judge, in my opinion, very biased. He's doing the job of the prosecution for them. And then you have a jury, which in that town, from what I understand, the common resolution on this case is that BK did it. And so you have, in that state in general. And so she has those 3 obstacles to overcome. And you're going to have experts on both sides. And it's going to be like, well, we kind of already believe the state. We'll just believe, as powerful as Cyray's testimony is.
Yeah, but
that's why they downplay it.
But what you're not realizing is that the most powerful point that Ann's going to make is when she brings the same evidence forward and asks questions that the prosecution avoids. So when she, for example, let's say that there's seven images of a vehicle. She's going to bring those and put them up on cards, just like the prosecution said, that drew this map, and this is how the car drove. And she's going to say, where in these images do you come to the conclusion it's the same car? So he's not going to be able to say that. Where in this image can you show this car belonged to Brian Koberger? So when she starts cross-examining his experts, now she's putting reasonable doubt that the jury, even though they went in that box without it, they're going to consider it. They're going to say, ooh, yeah. And then when the other samples of DNA come forward, and I would be very pointed with if I were her, and I would make a statement that transfer DNA cases like Amanda Knox in Italy are often overturned because they exclude or ignore other real DNA samples. That's why people with transfer DNA, they don't like using that. It's why they don't swap bullet casings, because they're made of brass, just like that button snap. And so when she starts unloading and showing the jury's going to have nothing but questions. How is it that you determined this was his car? Is there a bumper sticker? Is there a dent, a scratch, an image, something?
Well,
and she's going to say, remember, you're putting this man to death. And you have to be certain, beyond reasonable doubt, completely certain that he is and can only be the person that did this crime. It's going to be hard to convict this guy.
Do you think that they'll call anybody of the families in as witnesses?
I don't know. And if they do, it's going to be testimony to purchases on Amazon. It's not going to be a significant blow to Brian Koberger. Why you can't totally just comment? What are you talking about? I can't read the chat and pontificate at the same time.
Heather is in Zaza zone the last couple of days. I haven't been able to make head or tails of anything she said in the last couple of days.
It's hooked on fucking potatoes, man. I don't know what the deal is.
Potatoes the
and
password.
then listen, I like her work, but the simple fact that she'll repeat the same thing over and over and over again, like she'll keep replaying that segment of the tape. I'm like, all right, man, get.
Well, there's a class in Rosetta Stone on Heather Fitzgerald.
Oh.
And you got to get the cipher to get to the Rosetta Stone, and then you can interpret what she's saying.
She's got good work, there's no doubt. The potato's kind of funny.
She knows quite a bit. That
I know.
People have contacted her as well. Has anybody ever contacted you as far as the cases related?
Me?
Yeah, personally.
I don't know any long distance number. I ignore. I run a business and anybody can call. I can't stop telemarketers, so I just ignore and block. But I've got calls from that side of the country, several of them this year. I don't want to deal with it. I don't know who it is. Maybe they're going to sell me a wrench or something. I don't know. So you know what I mean? So for me, the only way to contact me would be through this channel, and there's an email connected to it, and that's not happened. No. So, and I don't know what value I could apply to their case. Really. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an observer that seems to make observations that even science can't fucking argue against anymore.
Well, we got not to mention.
Man,
I have some politics for you. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So what it is Trump nominated a new secretary of the USDA.
Yeah.
And she ended up being secretary, of course. And like a week or two ago, she rescinded a $59 million grant to the University of Idaho.
Yep.
And she called it another green scam.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yep.
So,
wasn't it?
So how much of that do you think? How much does that mean?
Well, these people, these green scams, they are a scam for one. First of all, the earth is warming. And even if you erased all of humanity, kicked us all out into space, it would continue to warm because we've yet to return to the pre-ice age temperatures. And when I say pre-ice age, I mean the ice age that ended in 1850, which most people don't even know. It's called the mini ice age, and it drove all the European immigration to America. It's where the potato famine happened. It's where they didn't have summers in Europe.
Right, for a whole year. They didn't the whole year.
Oh, yeah. Is the earth warming? 100%. I agree with them completely. But we've not exceeded pre-ice age temperatures. So
you know what's funny?
So my argument is this. Listen, whether we're here or not, it's going to warm. The question is it worth to put trillions of dollars into this fucking concept that we can control the temperature of the globe? No, it's not. Let nature do its thing. Okay? When it gets sick of us, the earth will literally shake its back like a dog and throw us all into the fucking air and kill us. When the earth is done with us, it'll be done with us. As far as our influence on the planet, we do have one, but I'm sorry, so do volcanoes. and they were much more damaging to the earth than we are. Yet they're still around, aren't they? So my point is, it's a contrived argument for people that refuse religion. They refuse to believe in God or a creator, but because for some reason the one commonality humanity has is the power to believe, they believe in government. They believe in the stories that government shares with them. They believe because I'm a white Republican, I'm racist. You're racist.
Yeah, you want to believe that
Yeah.
people are waking up, but it seems to be the opposite. It's funny, you know, that the more brainwashed you are, you're called woke, and you know,
I agree that it's warming, but I think some of their solutions are. Imagine if you were going to put trillions of dollars into Christianity, they wouldn't go for that, and we shouldn't go for their religious under their belief. They're the ones that say there's no such thing as God. I respect that. But the idea that you're going to take all of my tax money and you're going to make my gas go through the fucking roof so you could build a windmill that has more corrosive fucking material and is the reason and is actually the direct relation between that and slavery. Modern day slavery can be directly connected to a windmill, but not oil. And you're going to ignore the tens of thousands of fucking kids that are in cobalt mines in Africa. That doesn't fucking matter to you. You're worried about the Earth's temperature. You're a lying, conniving fucking loser. And that's all I got to say about that.
I'm trying to find this story here. This might be it. Okay. Are you familiar with the Church of Christ in Moscow?
Not really. I've heard of him.
Okay, so Doug Wilson is the leader over there, and when I say that there's tension in Moscow between the right and the left, it is beyond palatable. It's literally they see each other on the street and they flip each other off. And I played videos to prove it. And on the far right side, you have this Christ Church, and they have a very powerful network that they've tried to gain control, similar to what the Scientologists have done here in Clearwater, Florida, and in Hollywood, where they bought up other properties. That's what they've been adamant in doing. And so Moscow has a opposition to them. It's called United in Community. And at the last meeting, Doug Wilson was I think the guest speaker. He's giving his speech, and this lady gets arrested in the middle of the thing. Anyway, it was this whole wild shouting match. And the next one is scheduled for May 17th.
You know, it's the Democrats focus on social conflict, not cooperation. And they depend on us to be, and we are, much more considerate and much more tolerant than they are. And they depend on that, use it against us. That's why I have a real issue with people that vote Democrat. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, your simple blind fucking commitment to a party of hate, I don't want anything to do with you. If I want to deal with people like that, then, you know, I'll just throw all my fucking communication gear away and go live in the woods. But thank God there's enough people that, like, I don't think electric cars, I want the grid improved. I want cars to be electric. They're better fucking cars. No oil changes, no air filters, no tune-ups, no transmission. They're fucking way more powerful. A fucking Tesla Cybertruck beat a Porsche towing a fucking Porsche. They're better. I want them. But not because I want to save the fucking planet. And this is where I get real burnt out. There's reasons to agree and disagree, but there's always common ground that we can share. Nobody's out there pushing it. Not any of these big fucking talkers on the internet or Twitter, on YouTube. The electrification of your fucking automobiles is the next best, greatest fucking move forward for mankind. Yeah, we have electricity now, but imagine an entire transportation dependent upon electricity. That's fucking mind-boggling. That's awesome. Your battery technology, you just created a nuclear battery that'll last 5,700 years in your phone.
Right.
I mean, not that you need that, but my point is, that's the next great fucking exploration.
They did something like that recently, actually.
Yeah. So my point is that even though I don't share the same assessment to the globe's temperature, some of their solutions, I think windmills are very interesting in areas where they would be productive. Farms back in the 20s and 30s were big on windmills. They were accepted. They were part of pumping water and doing different tasks. So I'm not against them, but I think everything has its place and every place has the thing it needs. And so I don't want my city powered by wind, although I don't want to exclude wind from the formula of creating electricity. So in other words, most of us, like even Black Lives Matter, I completely disagree with them. But Brian Koberger's case is a direct example of systemic training issues with the police. That this is a perfect case to show this that the corruption is systemic, and corruption doesn't mean that you stole something or you're protecting somebody specifically, or you're protecting a drug dealer and getting paid for it. That's what people think corruption is. But corruption is improper training that leads to improper behavior. So a cop going 50 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, if he's being trained and his sergeant is doing that, you're being corrupt. That's corruption. The sign says 30, motherfucker. Go 30. You're a cop. The most important thing for you to train these people is whatever the law is, you're not above it. You're 100% follow it to the fucking letter, and you don't deviate in everything you do. That's what a police officer should be. Not, I'm Officer fucking Friday. Not that I know there's never any, but anyway, and I can go 80 and a fucking 40 because I'm a cop. See, that's the corruption that's being trained into the system. They've separated police from citizens, and these cops get trained under that kind of point of view, and that's where your corruption lies. So it isn't. So it isn't the intentional kind that you see.
Did you know there was 3 more documents released, or 2 more? Is it 1 or 2 more? 1 more document released today, and it is the order striking improperly filed records requests. And you know what Hitler's response was to it?
What?
The jury can go decide for themselves. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. Just like he said to everything else.
Well, no, he didn't say that to everything else. You're wrong on that. He didn't. Some of these rulings that he made, when it came to quite a few of these issues, you have to understand the law to know why the ruling comes down the way it comes down. Other cases have been tried with similar issues, and the rulings in those cases went forward and allowed certain things to happen. So he's going to use precedent to make his decision. Right. So there's got to be case law to support which side he comes down on, and whether you like it or not is really where people are. I know the guy's a dickhead. Don't get me. You can see he's a dick. How many friends does that guy have? Just look at him. Come on. Right? He's a fucking dick. He's probably been a dick his whole life. I see that in the guy, so I don't really get too fucking embedded in.
Nobody showed up to the Hitler's party.
No, man, you're like Hitler, that Nazi motherfucker,
that bastard.
So I think a lot of his rulings come down with the law.
I think we were talking about it in Dago's thing the other day, that he's the king of the courtroom and he decides what case law that he's going to cite. Do you see? So it just coincidentally always works against the defenses, which I don't think that Ann Taylor has filed a bad motion. Can
I just say that Ann Taylor filed a motion to prevent them from using the traffic stop video, and he agreed with her. Because the argument was they were going to use that to establish that he owned the white Elantra, that he drove it, it was in current use, and that he's being identified. This is who he is. So they were using it for identification purposes. Her motion was that it's almost like showing a past crime, which is prohibited. And even though it's a traffic violation, his interaction with the policeman and the fact that it was a traffic crime doesn't mitigate the rule that you can't use this. She made some argument to that effect. When Hitler came back with his ruling, he said, and he even said that he questioned the prosecution. He says, what are you using this for? He goes, well, for identification. He says, so basically a picture of him in that car and a picture of him is all you need to establish that, right? And the prosecutor said, yeah. He goes, well, then that's what you're going to do. You're not going to play the whole video. So taking that as an example, you've got to go through and understand the law and what precedent he's using to make his ruling. Now, is he looking for precedents that favor guilt? He might be. But if they exist, you really can't hold it against. You can not like the guy, but he's still doing his job. You see?
Well, the thing is, like I said, he's there. Anne's got an insurmountable triple threat against her to overcome, and I feel confident that it's possible to do. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, they can appeal, and if that appeal fails, they'll go to the Supreme Court." This case isn't going to make it out of Idaho on appeals. It's good. It's the same tired record on the same tired channel, no matter where you go. And people are like, "Oh, then they could take it to the Supreme Court of the United States." And I'm like, it's not. It's hard to win on
an
appeal.
appellate court. It would go to an appellate court. There's a lot of appellable issues.
It automatically, as a death penalty case, it automatically goes to an appellate court.
Right.
But winning an appeal is very difficult after you've gotten a guilty verdict. You have to represent.
No, it's not as difficult as you think because it's mostly the procedure and even the court's rulings that allowed information to come into the court that weren't supposed to. So there's a whole bunch of procedural arguments that you make on an appeal that will show Judge Hippler was wrong. Or
ideally, but the thing is, though, you've already presented the facts that ended up in a guilty verdict. And so once you get to the appeal court,
retrying the case. No, an appellate court is not a
right. You have to come with new information for an appeal to be overturned.
No.
Or you have to overturn some evidence that was presented in the trial that you weren't able to.
I'll tell you where one of the there's two places where an avid appeal, if not awarded, will actually move on to other courts for an argument. And the two places are going to be: can you collect 64 terabytes of data and drop it in the lap of the fucking defendant? That's one. And if you can do that, should it also not be required that the filing system, the software, the searchable, the process to make it usable be presented with the evidence itself? Now, in the past, when it comes to investigations, the answer is no. We're not going to give you our cops to do your investigation. And that's the precedent under which Hippler and other people have been running. However, in this case, with the amount of technology used, they're going to have to rewrite the rules of discovery to some extent because of what's happened here. And the other thing, too, is the IGG and the FBI's involvement is another appealable issue where he's telling both parties that they have to agree on some other means under which they identified Brian without bringing in the FBI or the IGG. In other words, you've got to lie to the jury and agree on your lie. That right away to me says that's going to be appealed immediately. You can't protect the FBI or the fucking Department of Justice in a murder, quadruple fucking murder, even in a traffic ticket. You just can't do it. But Hippler's doing it. So those two issues right off the bat tell me this case won't end no matter what the verdict is.
That's a good eye on those ones, yeah.
Even if he's exonerated, these two issues need to be hashed out in courts.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. All right, we got a third party here. It's your turn. Phone caller.
My turn?
Yeah.
You guys, I'm half asleep now. Hey, but Schumer Scott Green is he really is kind of having a lot of problems because he lost that grant, and then also it looks like his attempt to buy the University of Phoenix has gone nowhere. And the deadline for that's coming up.
Wasn't the University of Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein's connected to this case. I know that sounds fucked up, but I heard that somewhere, and I don't know. Listen, it is kind of.
You're talking about his gooch level right now. The gooch, back to Cocaine Bob over there, Cocaine Bob Evans in Hollywood, who's always wanted to keep his name around, and with the connections, that's why I was bringing up Paramount, and all the Paramount people now are on the opposition, right? They're all in the guilters.
This is all going to come back to this. This is a major drug cartel hub.
Well, here, listen to this.
What
do you think of this?
Somehow that's all going to come back to that.
Well, here's a wild one for you. Fuck! I forgot what I was going to say. I'll keep going. I'll think of it.
Caller, keep going until he interrupts us again.
Yes, caller. What? You're on line one. First time caller. Go ahead.
No, second time caller. Last time I hung up on
Long time listener.
This
him.
is like my fourth or fifth call.
Caller, second chance.
I thought I was giving you this. I thought I was giving you this.
Yeah, well, I know, but a lot of people try to outthank me. It just doesn't work. People, you walk away with your ass hurts. That's why I'm part of the Your Ass Hurts News Network.
That's why it's named. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's named. That's why. Yeah, you got another think coming. Go ahead.
No, I think that there's, I mean, obviously a big cover up. And I don't know exactly what they're covering up. If it's just because they made a bunch of stupid mistakes and they got to try to, cover that up, or if it's more than that. But it does seem like things are turning against them right now, because even the state canceled like a couple $1 million to U of I and Boise State, but no one else in the state. Just those two colleges.
Yeah, Trump is on a bender to get rid of all of that social engineering bullshit. That's really what all that stuff was, and people that are socially engineered to be religious won't buy into it, no matter what you say to them.
You remember Iran-Contra, right, Sarge?
Yeah, Oliver
Okay.
North.
So do you remember all of the I can't recalls and all of the Fifth
Right.
Amendments that were put? Don't you see that in these hearings with Payne and Mowry with their responses?
I really think that she's trapped them off already, and that's part of why I'm saying I don't think they can get a conviction. Payne's already admitted that there isn't an image in all 64 terabytes of data that can identify Brian Kohlberger, or that it's his car. So, she's dragged a lot of information out of these people. The testimony about what they brought to a grand jury and didn't save it. Where is that document? I mean, why wasn't it saved? Does it contradict what you're telling the court now? So she's going to be able to corner these people, especially the investigators who did such a bullshit fucking job. And their actual dive into the information that they had collected. Don't keep telling me these are unknown male DNA fucking discoveries. I mean, his was unknown too, yet somehow, with the most microscopic piece of evidence on earth, you've named a person that it belonged to. You know what I'm saying? But yet a blood stain can't be identified. What kind of DNA lab do you have? Right. And how about the fact that you send people in windbreakers throughout that property for hours before an actual hazmat team showed up? I mean, you got people sneezing into their fucking arm, that fat broad. Right? You guys seen it?
Yeah.
She's standing over by that picture. And you got Dylan saying she don't know if the lights are on or not, but Dylan can see all the way down the hallway and notice that Dylan's feet are by the door and her head's by the wall. I mean, but it's a fucking dark house. Everything.
No, but my point was that this has the hearkenings.
I really think that they're going to have a very difficult time convicting him, because nothing is a circle. There's no circular logic here. It's all square, rectangle.
Right, and they keep trying to invent a motive for him in the media. And today with the Howard Blum thing, I know you like Howard Blum a lot.
I can't stand him or anybody like him. Yeah.
They've literally brought in these fiction writers to create a story around this guy, and they keep doubling down on it now.
Let me be clear. They didn't bring him in for that. This is something that a lot of people may not know, and this applies to that. Hey, drunk turkey, you fucking dick licking motherfucker, ass sucker. What people like him and drunk turkey do is they provide false narrative to support the narrative of the fucking feet they're licking. They're trying to become part of, which Blum already is. So Blum, to maintain his place, comes in with these outrageous fucking claims and stories and arguments. That's what they do. Just look at this whole charge against Kohlberger. It's no different than if fucking Nancy Grace put the charges together. And how did she get famous if not by being fucking wrong and fucked up and doing something stupid, right? Look at the positions. Sure. Like Oliver North became famous. Fuck him. How about that cop that tried to frame OJ? Fuck him. But they're in the
also
media.
Connected to the case. Man.
Yeah. So my point is, Daniel and Blum and Nancy, all of these people are licking the same fucking asses. And Daniel's like the newest one in the group out here. But a lot of people naturally lick those asses because they think that those asses taste better. Maybe I don't know what their deal is.
It's like you literally have to shut your brain off to believe them.
No, it's not. They don't believe. Daniel doesn't believe in truth. He's not. See, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. These people, it's not about truth. It's about attention. It's about earning. A lot of us see our side of the aisle. You're built with a conscientious view, and you have to throw it away when you engage people. That's why I'm so nasty about that fucking Tommy Jude and even this jerk off Daniel. They don't deserve any respect from me. I wouldn't piss. Matter of fact, I wouldn't let others piss on them if they caught fire. I'd shoot your fucking dicks off. Okay. These people know what they're doing, bro. It's not like they're oblivious to it or they really think what they're telling you is true. Same thing with that guy, that Jeff H that runs around on these channels. He don't believe anything he's saying. He just wants to say what's popular amongst the people he agrees with because none of these people know how to think. They do know what they're doing, though. Let me just be clear. So does Joe Rogan. If anybody could change the world, it'd be a guy like that. Where's he offering solutions we could all get around and do together? He don't. He's a propagandist too. Whether you agree with the points or stuff he put, he isn't doing anything to solve any fucking problems. Neither is Tucker. None of them. They're all. Listen, I have disdain for most of humanity that has a voice because they don't use their voice to benefit society, just to poke holes and point out your differences and show you how ridiculous AOC is and how unjust it was they went after Trump. And where's the solution? What about all this corporate fucking invasion of my privacy? I mean, these people need to go fuck themselves. Imagine if Joe Rogan came out and said, all user agreements that you have to agree to use your phone, to use your streaming TV, to use your internet, to go to a website, demand these people fucking protect your privacy or you're leaving. Now I would be like, yeah, that's a solution to a huge
Amazon
problem.
recently launched its first satellite to start their internet service like a Starlink.
Yeah.
And now they're those Amazon Echoes and the Amazon Alexas.
Oh, I've got one.
People have. I wouldn't put one of those things in my home for $1 million.
Well, you think by avoiding that one? Wait. You think by so does your TV, so does your watch, and so does your phone. So does probably your alarm clock and your oven.
Right.
I mean, how modern are you? So here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying. I don't object to any of that stuff happening. What I object to is you're sharing of my information.
Right.
And like, for instance, in this case, look how the FBI went around the Constitution and searched databases that they didn't have access to lawfully.
They had to get their own policy.
Right. How about Amazon knowing all my locations just so they can sell my data to advertisers that could try to fucking, propagandize me to buy a fucking tent or whatever it is I'm interested in. Goldfish, don't matter. Leave me alone is what I'm saying. This is America, bro. It should be. I don't have a problem with those guys. Like I got that article today on the internet. I enjoy that. But my interests, my love of life, my distastes in life should not be used for you to make money. You should hold that privately. It's between me and Amazon, and that's it. Me and Walmart, me and Facebook. And all Americans should have that protection. And that's what I'm saying. Imagine if a Joe Rogan
and you and Apple.
Joe Rogan or Tucker, wait, all those theories, forget. Imagine if Joe Rogan and Tucker and other big multi-million fucking people accounts started telling Americans, you need to get the dividing line to protect your personal independence. And you need to stop going, do it to X. The first one that would capitulate would be Elon. If Elon doesn't lock your user fucking data in a fucking safe, in a vault, and protect you and yours like he would his own kid, then leave X. If Elon was faced with that option, he'd immediately fix X so that it would be that way.
Well, they like to dig tunnels, don't they?
I'm just saying, we as a country, there's so much we could come together on that doesn't matter if you believe in global warming or fucking oil. And none of these fucking big voices out there get involved with trying to help fix problems. They just want to keep pointing them out. And they get rich doing it. Right. Why do you think Daniel's doing what he's doing? He wants to sniff Nancy Grace's feet. That's got to be horrible. But anyway, that's where he's trying to get. They already brought him onto the media and they humiliated him. So like a good little boy, he went home and changed his narrative on Brian to be directly in line with the fucking mainstream media, not realizing he's just another one of their support voices. He's not going to get rewarded by them for that. He's not smart enough to see forward, that fucking Daniel. He's an idiot. But he used to be a pro burger in the beginning, so much as he had reasonable doubt and was asking questions until he was brought on the news and they made fun of him and his fat friend there, Blue.
Which both those guys deserted him now.
Well,
or I think that Paramount told them to kick him off the show that they were dead weight,
yeah,
which
so,
they were.
Well, yeah, but I mean, see, it's about Daniel and all these other people. They know what they're doing is wrong. They don't give a fuck because they're getting paid for it. And everybody else is doing it. Why not I? I mean, those are the kind of idiots that you live with in the world. It's a shame.
But he's the top dog of idiots for sure.
Yeah, so was that other guy, T-Rep.
From what I've heard, anyway.
Yeah, he's a fucking twit, that guy. I don't think he's even tall enough to get his own glass of milk off the table.
All he does is motivational videos for old ladies and raps now. Heather's his biggest fan.
I thought he quit fucking streaming.
No.
I know with that Seth Rogers.
He might have come back then. I don't know.
He's tied to the Sebastian Rogers case.
Right.
Do either of you guys think that, as far as like ever knowing what really happened in this situation,
no.
Do you think that with the Trump administration going after the cartel, which has a heavy presence there, and going after like the Democratic infrastructure, like taking away that grant, and things like that, do you think that any of that's gonna loosen up the grip?
If it does have an effect, it'll be years from now.
They have a lot of holes to dig.
Here's the other thing too. Now, this is a conspiracy theory. For those of you that think I'm incapable, well, here you go. Here's a conspiracy theory. The FBI contradicts the work done by that the state has placed together to charge and arrest and do all the shit they did to this kid. And prior to this entire case breaking and the crimes even being committed, the Department of Justice was investigating this particular state and some of its prosecutions that they took place and in places where they've lied to get charges, like a murder charge against one guy, another guy convicted and then exonerated, blah, blah, blah. So there was some issue here with the Department of Justice and FBI's presence in that state. And I think that's why the presence is. So this is my conspiracy theory, that presence existed because of the malfeasance and prosecutions that were tied directly to some of these cartels or some of these other extracurricular activities that were happening. And I call that state a hub. It's a movement, whether it be through sex trafficking, drugs, or all of it.
Yeah, people know that.
I'm very suspicious that, in fact, was being looked at. And then this happened. And the FBI became available. And yet it seems to me that the Idaho State Police and prosecution are putting forward information contradicted by the FBI. Could the FBI be allowing this to happen so they could take that down? One can only hope. Right? It's a conspiracy theory. I have no evidence to support it other than some facts in that statement were true with the DOJ and FBI involvement in the state. But imagine leaving.
There's a lot of movement against Idaho.
Right. Imagine leaving this kid in jail now for 2.5 years.
No, it's not been easy on.
No, his life is over. This kid's life is over.
Yeah.
And unless the exoneration and other perps are actually arrested, forget it.
Well, a lot of people have been saying that even if he is exonerated and let out, that people will still go after him. That's a possibility that I hadn't really considered.
Well, even if he's exonerated, like you could see it with Trump. Like you see Letitia James that actually committed mortgage fraud, literally committed mortgage fraud and she prosecuted Trump for mortgage fraud, of which he never did it. His assessments of his properties were what she argued how he lied. But Trump doesn't make those assessments. He presents them because a firm presented it to them. The bank has to then accept and review the assessment, send their own assessor. Then the bank has to decide whether the value of the property is worth the amount being asked for, right? And Trump got preferential rates, but none of that was done through fraud. You can call 10 appraisers on your property and get 10 different fucking prices on your property. Does that mean someone's committing fraud, or do these people have 10 different opinions? So with her, she signed a mortgage document claiming that her fucking father was her husband. She signed a mortgage document claiming this 5-unit fucking apartment building only had 4 units so she could get preferential loan fucking interest rates. She literally committed the mortgage. That's the actual definition of mortgage fraud.
There's no shame in the game on that side. There's no shame in the game.
No, and they accuse you of what they're doing. She claimed the home in
Right.
Virginia was her primary residence so she could get a lower interest rate while she was
Exactly.
fucking
I love it. I
Attorney
love
General
it.
in New York. How can you be the
Yeah.
Attorney General in New York and live in Virginia? How does that work? Those two are hard. And look at, there's a whole group of people that support what that woman was doing to Trump.
Oh yeah.
Joe Biden gets caught with documents that are top
I was
secret.
talking to one of them the other day. It was everything I could do not to lose my mind. The shit that's coming out of this woman's mouth.
They don't care.
You can't win in a fight. You can't.
It's not right because it's not right or wrong. They're just doing it because they know it pisses you off because they're better than you. That's something a lot of Republicans can't wrap their head around. These people in their own heart are better than you. And there's nothing you could say that'll change their fucking mind unless they change their mind momentarily to get away from you. And I wish more people would start to wake up to that. They literally fucking hate you. They'll call you anything, accuse you of anything, and they'll scream it from the highest mountain. And knowing it's false, they don't give a fuck. They hate you. And I know that's hard for people to accept, but the evidence proves what I'm saying. No different than my argument of space being nothing is now proven to be something, right? So the facts cannot be fucking argued. There is no contravening fact to this point. The KKK never died. They just put on suits and started calling themselves Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer. These are all KKK members. To suggest they're not is insanity. Look what they did to the black communities. Imagine being a young black guy born in the inner city, the same inner city your grandfather came from, that knocked up some fucking girl after the war that he just met, that then walked down the street and got a fucking job at a factory that gave him a wage, a vacation, and health care, gave him a chance to make right the mistake by knocking her up. Most of us are here because of that. And what did the Democrats do when they took over these cities? They kicked all them fucking businesses and opportunities out. So now a young black or young white or young Spanish poor guy gets born in the fucking, knocks some girl up at 17. What's his fucking choice? Taco fucking Bell? Where's IBM? Where's General Dynamics? Where's Xerox? Where's fucking Boeing? Where are all these big corporations? Well, they were chased out of the inner cities. Why? Because the Democrats fucking regulated them out, taxed them out, made laws to get them out. And you left the inner cities fucking barren of any opportunity. And people want to complain about the crime in the inner city. Will you be born into that fucking shitstorm? And tell me you won't consider crime, for fuck's sakes. And yet the Democrats are never held to account for that. What I'm sharing with you, you may not even have considered any of that. But that's the history of America. That's why your inner cities are such fucking hellholes. There's no opportunity there. In contrast to your father or your grandfather. Right. Those companies were coming to the cities just to get these people to work for them. Right?
Yeah. Well, hey, let me go. I'm gonna get ready for my show I got coming up Friday. Thanks for having me on, man. Always a good time in here. Great talk, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk with you again. What about
alrighty? Have a great night, man. Have a great show.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. Talk to you later, man. Sorry to get to hear from you much.
Hey, Kane, can I say something?
Sure.
I just booted his ass. These people don't even fucking. Don't they watch my show? Don't these people watch my show? What the fuck was that all about, Kane? That shit's fucked up, bro. So what do you got? I'll give you a couple of minutes. You can air yourself out here if you like, and I will not hang up on you. I'm not trying to trick you.
I don't have a whole lot left to talk about. I was on a live earlier, talked about Idaho 4, if you what I had to say, but I think there's a lot of politics involved. I think it's just interesting to me. I haven't really followed politics before, and but to see the Trump appointed or nominated secretary of the USDA taking that grant away. I thought that was,
That's why he wants to get rid of the Department of Education. I don't think sometimes he makes things simple enough for people. But if you have to have co-ed bathrooms in a junior high and a kindergarten and a high school to accommodate the transgenders, he's not going to fund you, because that is an abnormal condition to be. Mentally, they right. So what was happening with the Department of Education? They were making it that you had to put these people in girls' sports or you couldn't get money. You had to teach global warming. You couldn't get money. You couldn't talk about God. You couldn't get money. That's what the department. So they've been socially engineering the country rather than letting you and your neighbors decide. You know, you live next to fucking Boeing, for example, right? Somebody should learn something about jet engines, right? I mean, the fucking biggest employer in your area, that's what they do. And they weren't, that wasn't important to them. They didn't give a fuck where you lived. You had to pay attention to social engineering and issues and topics they created out of thin air, or you wouldn't get federal funding. And that's why Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education. That shouldn't be done by religious people or non-religious people. Nobody should have that power over your local school except you. And so I wish he would find some simple ways to make those points and explain it to the public. The Department of Education was being used to socially engineer your children and essentially sexualize your child. 67 genders, when all 65 of those genders were sexual acts and sexual preferences. Only 2 of them were real gender. So it was that narrative of 67 genders that they were sexualizing your children at very young ages. And so he's doing the right thing by getting the Department of Education. But I don't think he explains it in a simple, sufficient way that he continue to repeat it. And that's what needs to happen. Department of Education is not here to socially engineer children. That's why I'm getting rid of it. And just continue to repeat that talking point. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the only thing that this case has done for me so far is that I can see, like, you know, Trump's people, what they're doing. I can see how they're what they're attacking, because the University of Idaho with Scott Green taking away the grant, and then some, other things like that. You can see because that money was being used to fund, all this corruption.
Yeah. And it was all these 503, these NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Like, look at Stacey Roberts.
Oh, no.
Stacey Abrams got $2 billion. That woman that wants to be the governor of Georgia. That big fat black lady with a gap in her teeth. That might ring a bell. Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, $2 billion.
$2 billion to her NGO. So, and that woman actually courted the governor, the Republican. When Trump lost in 2020, he lost Georgia. Well, the governor of Georgia bought all his voting machines from Stacey Abrams. He installed all new voting machines throughout the state of Georgia when Trump lost Georgia. And he did that through Stacey Abrams, the Democrat. That shows you how tightly entwined Republicans and Democrats are. They didn't want Trump to win. So like when you look at the election of 2020, if you look at Republican districts, even though Trump won, he won by way less margin than when he beat Hillary. So he in Pennsylvania, there was a district he won by 98 point something percent where they frack. That's the only income for the town is fucking fracking. But when he ran against Biden in 2020, he only got 74% of the vote. How does that happen, bro? They were stealing votes out of Republican districts. The Republicans were complicit in making sure Trump couldn't win in 2020. And he didn't. He lost by 56,000 votes in 5 swing states. That's all. No matter the total of the vote, doesn't matter. The 56,000 votes were votes that if those 56,000 voted for Trump, he would have beat Biden by 56,000 votes. So the margin of victory in 2020 was minuscule. Minuscule. It was thousands of votes out of 150 million counted. Only thousands of votes mattered. And that was effectively done by raiding Republican district machines and transferring that vote to Biden. So anyway, that's just politics. Fuck politics. I got out of that a long time ago.
All right. Well, hey, It's nice talking with you. And this is really late for me, so I'm gonna have to get
Yeah,
going.
I gotta get up tomorrow to work. So thanks for stopping in.
Sure.
We'll talk with you again.
All right, great. Thanks.
Kind of, but not really a direct hang up on him, but close. You got a good point there, Heather. Also, I'm weird and I'm looking to see if there's a single word in that. Single word in what? I've been watching chat. I didn't see your question, Joanne. Go ahead and ask it. Go stream on Joanne's question. If people would prefer to hit like, go ahead and hit like. If you don't like, please hit don't like, because that doesn't. I'm not a monetized channel. I'm not looking for any fucking money over here. They cheated the 2020 elections. Great the fuck up. Joanne, I did not see your question. I see you said something to Heather, but I'm going to wait for you to repeat that question. Not really as closely as most people, but I think the Karen Reed trial, I think her attorney realizes areas that needed to be improved, and I think he's doing it. I think he's got a lot of their witnesses. It's just gobbledygook. Yeah, I in all fairness, I think that she'll probably be acquitted. That's my guess on that. All right, folks. It's 1:30 in the morning. I still need to eat my Oreos. Remember, I started this stream by saying I had no intention of streaming. I was going to sit down with my 6-pack of Oreos, watch a little TV. Well, that shit never happened, but it's going to happen. Sarge's going to have his Oreo cookies. I got 66 packs of Oreo cookies. I don't know why I got 60. I thought I only ordered 30, but now I got 60. And there you go. And I can cook like the cook of all. I'm a great cook too. Anyway, ladies, gentlemen, people of all ages above the age of 18, have a good night. Be good. But if you're going to be bad, don't get caught. We'll talk with you again.